continue through the night for a lot of places.
Yeah, if anything, we may be getting a little bit of an uptick in the tornado threat because we have had a relatively new several now relatively new tornado warnings, including 2 in Tennessee, 1 in Kentucky, and then these 2 that have come out of Mississippi into parts of Alabama. So the one that's in middle parts of Tennessee there, south of Nashville, is the one that earlier has caused at least 1 fatality and has come from Clarksdale, Mississippi area with 1 or more tornadoes up into the area now south and west of Nashville. So going to start with that particular storm, and you can see that it has a well-defined hook echo on that, spiraling its way around near the Fairview area. Hickman and Williamson counties, you have tornado warnings there, and you can see how much the swath has moved here. So I'll just draw the new swath as you watch. The tornado circulation is about there, heading into the Brentwood area. I'll move this just down a little bit. So Brentwood would be about 7:23 p.m. as this heads off toward the northeast. Doppler velocities, maybe not quite as tight a couple as it has been, but you can see there are some red and greens. It's a little bit more sheared out now. The green's going northeast bound, the red's going southwest bound. So let's hope that shearing out process continues, but there still are some spots in there that have tight enough close together, the red and green, that you can get a tornado vortex signature. We have gone now tornado warned for the storm that earlier I said was off to the north and west of Nashville and was a supercell. Cheatham, Montgomery, and Robertson counties have a tornado warning now with that particular one. So you're definitely going to see me work on the fly here now as I'm going to draw the swath from scratch, basically, with picking up the tornado circulation right about there and sliding it up toward the north and east, and I'll take the warnings off so you can see the name of some of the communities. And so there you have Thomasville and Springfield, Tennessee, about 7:22 p.m. Let me also take a look and see if I can find see what the velocity looks like on this. Let's see, where do I get that? There is what I'm looking for. And so here, and I'll zoom in just a little bit, pretty well-defined circulation showing up on this just to the north and west of Ashland City, where the tornado vortex signature is showing up. There we have the reds and the greens, and that, as I indicate, is heading toward Pleasant View and off toward area probably just south of Springfield in Tennessee. Going up then, the next storm up the line into Kentucky, Edmonson and Warren counties with tornado warning there. I'll also might as well do a little bit of swathing on that one as well. Oops, we've got the Louisville radar out, so I'll have to leave it where it is there and then track this one this way, coming up across here, and I'll show the path. This one is coming toward the Wax area at about 7:21, the Munfordville area about 7:34. So a potential tornado with that one. At this point, all of these seem to be Doppler indicated. We're not seeing recent tornado reports from ground truthing on any of these. Down into South Tennessee, these are some of the storms that were following the lead storm and have come now out of Tennessee, out of Mississippi into Tennessee, Wayne County, around the Collinwood area. Tracking that one, I'll slide my swath a little bit farther to the northeast there. It is off to the north and east of Lutz now, and that's coming toward the Red Hill area of Tennessee at about 7:30 p.m. Taking one more look at the next storm down the line, it has gone actually now into northwest corner of Alabama, Lauderdale County, and that one is sliding, and again will have to adjust my my swath by virtue of how fast these storms are moving. That has moving up toward the Murphy's Crossroads area, and that will come up into Tennessee as well near the Wayland Springs area about 7:29. So a very busy and fast moving evening, and I was wanting to show the velocity couplet on this one, and that one too has moved. Very intense couplet. This is the Alabama border area, so we're in northwest corner of Alabama with yellows northbound, blues southbound. A dangerous storm there north of Waterloo, about to angle its way up toward the Wayland Springs area in Tennessee. All of this courtesy of what we've been talking about for days, a big up upper air system that has its cold pocket aloft, its core, if you will, that's up in the area heading toward the Twin Cities, heading toward Minnesota. But the tail end of that is a slightly negatively tilted trough axis. The lifting is ahead of that, so that's firing up the storms in Kentucky, Tennessee, Mississippi, Alabama, and will work their way into Georgia before the night is over. Additional thunderstorms rolling across parts of Ohio into the Cincinnati area. Brand new tornado warning there just south of Cincinnati. So let's take a look at a few more storms there. Storms have blasted across Dayton, not warned, but the storms that are down just to the south of Cincinnati now. In Kentucky there, Campbell, Kenton, and Pendleton counties. This would be a circulation along the leading edge of the line that could produce a tornado. And once again, I'll just do a little work on the fly here for some of the community names that could be in the path of this one. And I'll get that one up here in just momentarily. We'll have tornado possibly affecting places like Falmouth, the Georgetown, the Scott areas of Kentucky. So, Mike, a very dangerous evening. Additional thunderstorms blasting down south of Louisville toward the Frankfort, Kentucky area, ultimately toward Lexington, Kentucky with damaging winds, and then down into that storm earlier that I showed, the Edmonson, Warren counties, and as well as these heavy rain producing thunderstorms that are down in the Atlanta, Georgia, up into the Greenville, South Carolina area, Mike.
Take a break, Dr. Forbes. Get yourself something to drink. A lot going on this evening, that's for sure. We're going to keep you up to date on all the warnings as they come in. But here's what we know right now about this dangerous and unfortunately deadly situation. Semi-trucks are blown off the road when a tornado crossed I-55 north of Sardis, Mississippi. At least 15 homes have been severely damaged or destroyed just south of Clarksdale, Mississippi. In Noblesville, Indiana, 10 homes have been damaged by straight-line winds. Siding and roofing has been blown off, windows blown out, trees toppled onto homes. And we can now confirm here in the last half hour or so that the coroner has confirmed in Holly Springs, Mississippi, that a 7-year-old boy has indeed died because of storm damage in northern Mississippi. Well, let's get you through the rest of the evening and show you the area that we're concerned about so that you don't become a victim of these storms. The Gulf Coast all the way up to the Ohio Valley, strong storms in the forecast. As far as your torcons, your tornado condition index, an 8 in northern Alabama. This will include around the Huntsville area an 80% chance of tornadoes. In East Tennessee, a 6, meaning a 60% chance of tornadoes. And in Mississippi, southern Alabama, western Florida Panhandle, say around Pensacola, a 5 is your torcon, or a 50% chance of tornadoes. Specifically for Birmingham, there's your 8, and the threat going through 11 o'clock. Tonight in Jackson, Tennessee, your torcon is a 7, with the threat also going through 11 o'clock, and then a 4 in Mobile, or a 40% chance of tornadoes, and that threat going through the evening up until about 11 o'clock this evening. So we've got a lot of warnings that we're going to go through. We've got a lot to talk about. Here's a look at the storms as we project them through the night, coming through Nashville, coming through Huntsville, Birmingham, racing across East Tennessee, then through Atlanta, Georgia, Asheville, North Carolina, and eventually Charlotte. All the latest when we come back.
Oh man, I did not want to see that. This is Christmas. This is not supposed to be happening.
That storm chaser Brett Adair near the Holly Springs area today. You can see vehicles that have been damaged. A tornado just cutting a swath through these trees here. We know that we've had some fairly significant damage in the Holly Springs area today as a very long track supercell has raced across multiple states, and this being just one of the towns that was hit. Unfortunately, here in the Holly Springs area, we have our first tornado fatality since May. A young 7-year-old boy, unfortunately, was killed in a vehicle when the storm struck today. We do have some more storms that we're following for you very, very closely this evening. Let's hand it over to our severe weather expert, Dr. Greg Forbes, and storms that are approaching now Nashville, Tennessee. Dr. Forbes. Yeah,
thanks, Mike. And one of the storms approaching Nashville from the southwest is the same supercell thunderstorm that caused that fatality and came all the way from near Clarksdale, Mississippi. And that is tracked now by my ruler here, more than 250 miles where that storm is now. It is still tornado warned. So we'll look at a couple of these tornado warnings in middle parts of Tennessee. Here is the one that I was talking about. We're talking about tornado warnings for Franklin County, and now a brand new tornado warned area for Cheatham, Davidson, and Williamson County. So that isn't officially including part of the Nashville metro area in Davidson County. You can see here the storm has that hook shape to it. Tracking that along, it's close to the Brush Creek area right now, heading toward Forest Hills, the Brentwood area about 731, Una at about 738, if I'm pronouncing that one correctly. So the south suburbs of the Nashville area. The good news is that it seems like the rotation maybe is weakened a little bit. There's a little bit of green westbound. There's definitely some yellow, green eastbound, yellow's going westbound there, but is not as strong as it had been earlier. Still a tornado warning here up farther to the north and west of Nashville. That one may be strengthening a little bit as a well-defined hook echo there. Cheatham, Montgomery, and Robertson counties with a tornado warning. And that one close to the Pleasant View area at this point, heading towards Springfield and then ultimately Portland, Tennessee. Portland about 7:44 p.m. So additional tornado warnings, northwest Alabama, Tennessee, and up into Kentucky, Mike.
All right, Dr. Forbes, thank you very much. We know that a lot of you may be traveling this evening or traveling tomorrow. We want to update you on the weather that you could encounter as you head out on the highways. Tomorrow's travel along I-10, I-20, 40, I-65 or 75 could be problematic. The areas that are highlighted here in red could have severe storms. That includes New Orleans, Pensacola, up toward Atlanta. On Friday, still storms across the southeast. Maybe not severe criteria, but wet roads will be an issue and flooding could be an issue as well. Some spots here before all is said and done could see as much as 5 to 8 inches of rain. So monitor the weather closely along the route that you're going to take. Into the northeast, we have some strong storms that come up toward the D.C. area and maybe out toward the Delmarva as well. Some of those could produce some very high winds and then stronger thunderstorms all the way up towards, say, Burlington, Vermont. We're going to back off Christmas Day on the storms across New England, but still some stormy weather. I-80, 79, or 95. Once again, it's Baltimore and it's D.C. and Philadelphia. You can actually have some storms that come your way as well. Pittsburgh, we're in the mix once again. Our forecast tomorrow across the southern plains is much, much calmer. Could actually see a mix of precip, say, around Kansas City with snow north of that, and then snow across the west, especially once you get into any elevation as our next storm system is taking shape here. In fact, on Friday, Christmas Day itself, snow could come into the Denver-Boulder area, approach Albuquerque and Santa Fe, and then now more storms rumbling here. Houston, up through the Arklatex, into Little Rock, and much of the Mid-South. So areas that may have gotten hit today could get hit again on Christmas Day itself. To be determined yet just how strong some of those storms could be. Here's a look at your torcons for the remainder of tonight. An 8 in Birmingham, 7 in Jackson, and 4 in Mobile. So an 80, 70, and 40% chance of tornadoes through 11 o'clock this evening. We'll be right back. According to the Emergency Management Agency Director of Benton County, Mississippi, 2 people are now confirmed dead, at least 3 people missing. Search and rescue teams are looking for those missing people. Several homes have been destroyed or severely damaged. Power out in many parts of the county. This brings the total dead today to at least 4. We know that one 7-year-old boy was killed in Holly Springs, Mississippi, and we had one earlier storm death in Arkansas because of a downed tree. We have an ongoing threat this evening. Still more tornadoes could be likely. We are joined now by our severe weather expert, Dr. Greg Forbes. Storms from the Ohio Valley all the way back down through the deep south and now Middle Tennessee and the Nashville area. There's an imminent threat.
Indeed, there is 4 tornado warnings, in fact, in Middle Tennessee now, 2 in central parts of Kentucky. So a very busy day continues as a very busy evening. This is the big picture of things. This particular storm has come all the way from Clarksdale, Mississippi, all the way up. Has caused fatalities, or 1 or more at least. It's getting close to the Nashville area now. Has traveled more than 250 miles. That doesn't mean 1 tornado, but certainly the circulation of this rotating supercell thunderstorm getting very close now to Nashville. Davidson and Williamson County, you're under tornado warning. You can see the well-defined hook echo showing up right about there. And so taking a zoom in of that and tracking that one out. Again, it's very difficult to keep up with these. They're moving so quickly. Tracking this particular storm out, it is going to be heading into areas, maybe right down into the center of Nashville now, as it's taking a little bit more of a turn to the north. So Nashville about 7:30 p.m. Taking a look at the velocities, that's the best thing about this, is that while it looks impressive in terms of its shape, it does not have that. Let me see if I can move this along here just a little bit and see that we do not see a tremendous velocity couplet on this one. Mostly what we're seeing are reds. We're not seeing a whole lot of a couplet coming northbound. So this is a weaker circulation than some that we've seen this evening. Off to the north and west of Nashville, heading towards Springfield, Tennessee, Robertson County, still a tornado warning there. And again, I'll have to move this particular swath along. This has been a challenge today to keep up with the storms, especially when we get this many of them. Springfield is right about on you right now, heading toward the Portland, Tennessee area at about 7:46 p.m. Then tracking a few more storms, well, taking a look at the velocities, that's also the good news here. There is a little bit better rotation, a couplet showing up on that, but it's broad. It's not a well-defined individual tornado vortex. Up into Kentucky, we've lost some of the Doppler radar in some of these areas, but Edmonton, Grayson, and Hart counties with a tornado warning, tracking that one out. That's near Straw right now, heading up toward Hammondville about 7:41 p.m. Then jumping down, some of the storms earlier in northern Mississippi have also moved into south central parts of Tennessee. Lawrence, Lewis, and Wayne counties, pretty well defined circulation there east of the Waynesboro area at this point. And you can see that one at that point there, the greens and the blue, the greens and the reds, Christmas type colors, but certainly far from the Christmas spirit with these particular storms here as they are rolling now from around the Ovilla area up toward Barnesville in Tennessee. Next storm down the line, also a well-defined circulation in that one. Wayne County with a tornado warning, getting close to the Collinwood area, tracking that one along, coming toward the Collinwood area right around now, up toward the Spring Creek and the Lawrenceburg area of Tennessee, about 7:49 p.m. This one has also very well-defined circulation. So these are the strongest storms at the moment. This one is going to go south of the Collinwood area, heading off toward Lawrenceburg. All of this courtesy of a big upper air system that is giving us what I've been calling a springtime in December. We have a December type, a big upper air system that has cold core up around now the Twin Cities area, but its southern tail all the way down into Mississippi. So out ahead of that, we're getting the lifting combined with warm, moist air aloft that is giving us a severe weather threat. Big squall line across east of Dayton now. One more tornado warning in that particular storm. The storms have moved without severe warnings across Dayton, but down to the south and east of Cincinnati here, we do have a tornado warning. Getting close to the Georgetown, Kentucky area, Bracken, Brown, and Claremont counties with that tornado warning, tracking that one along, coming towards Scott at about 8:56 p.m. So dangerous storms tonight, Mike, and Atlanta's had rounds of rain and thunder. Could be even a severe threat, increasing as we go through the overnight hours into tomorrow morning.
What's really driving this through the overnight? People don't normally think about tornado threats, you know, last sustaining or even increasing overnight. Happens tonight.
Well, the Gulf of Mexico is wide open, so we're getting this 20-mile-per-hour southerly flow coming in off the Gulf of Mexico that's keeping the dew points up, and that keeps the temperatures up. We're getting very low cloud bases, very high humidities. At the same time, the tail end, the stinger, if you will, of this upper air system is coming in with a lift that's kicking off the upper air, kicking off the storms. And so you have the dynamics, the upper forcing, the instability at low levels, and it's not, it has diminished in Ohio, but certainly Kentucky and southbound, it's not diminished.
All right, Dr. Forbes, thank you very much. And unfortunately, we know that storms have turned deadly. We know that 3 confirmed tornado deaths.
Look how big that dude is. Oh my gosh.
And welcome back, everyone, to the Weather Channel's continuing coverage of an ongoing tornado outbreak. I'm Mike Bettis, and we're going to update you on what's happening across the Deep South. Holly Springs, Mississippi coroner James Anderson confirms to the Weather Channel the death of a 7-year-old boy. Anderson says the boy was found dead in a van heading south on Highway 7 outside of Holly Springs. The child was found in a van and his family was taken in unknown condition to a nearby hospital. Also, according to the Emergency Management Agency Director of Benton County, Mississippi, 2 people are dead and at least 3 people are missing. Currently, search and rescue teams are looking for those that are missing. Several homes have been destroyed or severely damaged. Power is out in many parts of the county. Also, earlier today, 1 storm death as a tree fell on a house and killed an 18-year-old woman in her home. An 18-month-old baby was seen to by first responders and was reportedly in good condition. We still have an ongoing threat right now, and we're joined by our severe weather expert, Dr. Greg Forbes. Middle Tennessee and Nashville now has got a pretty significant risk.
Indeed it does. A tornado warning there. We're beginning to see some transition. Some of the storms that had been supercell thunderstorms may be gusting out a little bit, becoming more of a wind threat, less of a tornado threat, but that is not the case for Middle Tennessee, where Nashville has a tornado warning, and then a couple of tornado warnings down in central portions of Middle Tennessee. This is a storm, part of the same storm that has had the long history coming all the way from Clarksdale, Mississippi, over 250 miles now. It's rolling across, racing across at 55 miles per hour across the Nashville metro area. So you can see now the updated situation for Davidson, Sumner, and Wilson counties. The tornado along the south flanks of this hook there. It's right over downtown Nashville at this time, although it seems, gosh, you just cannot keep up with the tracking of these. You can see here, I'll back off a little bit and try to use my left hand to show you this. You can see that it maybe has become a little bit more like a gust front, a backwards C instead of a counterclockwise shaped bow echo. But that said, either damaging winds or possibly you can get some brief tornadoes on that around Nashville right now, and then heading its way toward the La Jolla Hills area and off to the northeast, the Hermitage area, about 7:40 p.m. The Doppler velocities kind of nondescript for this, so hopefully that is a gusting out phase for the storm. Some good news there. The storm that had been tornado warned up around Springfield, Tennessee, no longer warned at all, but it still is a supercell thunderstorm. Not out of the question that as it comes up toward the Portland, Tennessee area, we could still see some kind of a warning. Also some good news. The storm that had been tornado warned up around just to the west of Campbellsville, Kentucky, is now severe warned. There is some circulation right now around the Upton area heading toward the Raywick area. Not out of the question it could rotate again. But these storms farther down into the south central parts of Tennessee are still rotating pretty strongly. And one of them is coming across Lawrence and Maury counties. Taking a look at that particular one, you can see how well defined the tornado vortex signature is. The red southbound, the blues going northeast bound. And so that one going south of Hohenwald is going to go over to the areas north and west of Lewisburg. I'll update this one just a little bit here to match the vortex signature, but it is coming up toward areas like Barnesville and Mount Joy, Mount Pleasant, the West Haven areas of Tennessee. And then one more storm down the line from that one. We're talking about, nope, it's moved out of there now. We'll have to do a little bit of adjusting. Talking about areas, well, it's maybe moving out of the tornado warned area from near where was it? Wayne County area, south of Collinwood. Tracking that one along. It's pretty close to Shawnee right now, heading towards Sims Ridge and then Etheridge if it continues to have a circulation by about 7:56. Maybe part of the reason there hasn't been an updated tornado warning issued for that, well, we still have some pretty decent circulation on that south and east of Collinwood. So we do have right now, has just been issued as we watch there, a brand new tornado warning has been issued for the storm that is continuing. Whoops, let me see if I can get that back for us here. You're seeing live television, folks, with breaking tornado warnings and trying to cover them when they're going 55 miles per hour. Lawrence and Wayne counties, the updated tornado warning has come in for that particular storm. Looking a little bit farther toward the north and east then, we do still have some additional tornadoes and severe thunderstorm warnings. Severe thunderstorm warnings blasting their way across south and east of Cincinnati, across the Georgetown area. No longer tornado warned in there, but Adams, Brown, and Highland counties with severe thunderstorm warnings. No longer that tornado track there. All of this courtesy of a big upper air system has pushed up Minnesota, Wisconsin for the heart of the cold pocket, but its tail swings down into the Gulf Coast states, and so ahead of that, the lifting is firing up these blue top thunderstorm lines in Kentucky and Tennessee, and then additional storms could become severe in Alabama, Mississippi, and over into the Georgia areas overnight, along with a lot of heavy rain, Mike. So a lot of threats yet to come, including maybe some flooding.
Yeah, Dr. Forbes, thank you for that. There are a lot of things to consider tonight. A lot of people not necessarily paying that close of attention to the weather, considering it's the holiday. A lot of people are hosting or going somewhere for the holiday. But we know that we've had multiple tornadoes today. And how about this one in Quitman County, Mississippi? That's in the extreme northwest part of the state. Look how quickly this tornado was moving across the screen. Watch this live here in the newsroom of the Weather Channel. And before you know it, this tornado was just off the screen. But this stayed on the ground for quite some time. Here, by the way, the same tornado in Batesville, Mississippi. Look at the close-up view here, and you can see those suction vortices, as we call them, spinning with that parent tornado there, and the chaser's getting almost a little bit too close here and having to put their car in reverse to back up and get away from this one. And also, by the way, we do have 4 confirmed deaths right now from the storms across the South. 3 in Mississippi, 1 in Arkansas. The Mississippi Emergency Management is receiving several reports of damage in 6 different counties. In Panola County, where we saw a tornado, homes are damaged near Sardis. At least 2 people injured there. In Marshall County, Highway 7 closed. Highway 5 in Benton County is also closed. So it has been a really, really tough day, considering we are just 2 days away from Christmas, and the last thing we want to be doing is talking about this kind of death and destruction across multiple states. So we're joined this evening by meteorologist Ryan Davidson, updating us on just how many storm reports there have been. I mean, the numbers keep climbing as we go through the night. I'm looking at the map here, the last 12 hours of all the storm reports from basically Iowa and Texas eastward, and it just gets bogged down with all of our little icons. So let's filter it out, and we'll look at the last hour, and you see a lot of wind damage through the Ohio Valley, and then as you get down towards Tennessee and Kentucky, you start to get a little more hail damage, and then finally down to the deep south in northern Mississippi is where we saw all those tornado reports and those tornado warnings. So we have all of that. You see the first one, like Clarksdale, and then it just goes up by I-55 and then continues into Tennessee, and we're still following that storm that goes into West Tennessee, and it is reported there in portions of West Tennessee. Jackson, Madison County got out of any severe weather. All of the damage now looks like it's headed towards Nashville. And not that many reports, though, which is a very good thing in the Nashville area. The last hour of reports here, not seeing any reports out of Nashville, and that's good considering all the warnings we just saw for the Nashville area. Into Kentucky, a lot of wind damage. Let's pick out some of these, as a matter of fact, and find out. This one right here, 53-mile-an-hour wind gusts. So high winds, not out of the question. And again, damage also in high winds in northern Ohio, northwestern Ohio, and some of those tornado reports in Iowa and western Illinois. Just the scope of this, how many states it has covered, is pretty remarkable considering the time of year. Ryan, thank you for that. But let's get you an update, by the way, on the radar and show you exactly what's happening for us this evening, what your threat is going to end up being. As Dr. Forbes was alluding to, we have numerous tornado warnings out there. That does include, especially now, through Tennessee. Then a lot of severe thunderstorm warnings that go north of that. Davidson County and Nashville is still under that tornado warning this evening. If you're traveling on I-40 or I-65 or 24, check the radar, check the conditions before you leave. Storms now racing toward Lexington, Kentucky with severe thunderstorm warnings on them. So travels on I-75, not advised right now. Cincinnati, the strongest of the storms has gone by, but still more rain for you. The worst of the storms has gone east of I-75, now sitting right between I-75 and I-71. Some heavier rain coming toward Toledo, Detroit. Just showers for you right now. You've escaped the worst of it. But again, right down through the Midwest and deep south, we've had the strongest of storms. Up through, by the way, Wisconsin. Look at the storms racing through here with snow on the backside. We'll be right back. Some images into the Weather Channel of this tornado-warned storm near Kelowna, Illinois, shot by frequent weather underground watcher Dennis Beck. Dennis, thank you so much that the handle Tornado Seekers on Twitter. Remarkable images, really something it seems more indicative of a springtime Central Plains tornado alley type of event, but it's been a very tough day across even the Midwest. We've had storms that have stretched from the Midwest through the deep south, unfortunately with deadly consequences. We know so far today at least 4 people have been killed by storms. Tornado damage possible in suburban Indianapolis, by the way. 10 homes damaged in a 4-block radius. Roofs and siding ripped off here. Reports of trees on homes. This mobile home flipped off its foundation and flipped upside down. Maybe one of the worst places you can be during these kind of storms is in a mobile home. There you can see the underneath of it is now right side up. But please, if you live in a mobile home and you know that tornadoes or even strong winds are coming your way, consider another location to shelter in. But storms will be coming downstream in places like Birmingham, Alabama. Torcon 8 for you. Let's go right to the National Weather Service in Birmingham, where we find this evening Operations Officer Kevin Laws. Kevin, thanks for being with us. Let's talk about what you anticipate there in Alabama this evening. What's coming together? What do you expect to happen through the night?
Hey, Mike. Yeah, we're still in kind of a waiting pattern just a little bit. It seems like the start time has been delayed just a little bit, but we're really concerned about this area that hadn't seen a lot of activity all day, really. And as that line continues to move toward us, we're expecting storms to fire along these convergence lines. You can sort of see that's already starting to happen, especially in central Mississippi, and that's going to continue moving our way through much of the overnight hours. So I don't want anybody to let their guard down at this point.
Kevin, how are you there locally, keeping people aware? Will you be active on social media through the night?
Absolutely. We have a great staff out here. We're fully staffed, and we have a person actually dedicated at this point to our social media channels. They've been doing it. We've been posting videos and obviously the graphics on our webpage. But we also stay in touch with our local media partners, and they keep the word going for us that, hey, don't let your guard down. We know it's going to get dark. People may be tired. They've been expecting something to happen all day, and now that the sun is going down, it's actually going to get more dangerous for us.
Kevin, what do you expect the timing to be for Birmingham when the worst of the storms could come calling?
Yeah, it looks like right now probably it's going to be closer maybe to 11 or the midnight hour as these storms start to move in. Right now they're just crossing or getting ready. This line is getting ready to cross into the state line. We've already seen some activity up in the extreme northwestern portions of Alabama, and now we're expecting the rest of this to take off here over the next couple hours. So probably closer to the midnight time frame, if not thereafter. So we're expecting to stay kind of active all night tonight.
And what about Christmas Eve? What should folks anticipate tomorrow?
Yeah, it looks like that front's going to try to drop south and maybe even come back a little bit further north, but the instability stay high. The wind shear kind of comes down tomorrow a little bit, so we're not expecting maybe necessarily as much tornado activity tomorrow, but definitely should keep your guard up across much of the area again tomorrow, as this boundary is really not going to move anywhere. It's going to kind of just stay over for probably the next 24 hours almost.
Well, Kevin, thank you for being with us this evening. Good to hear that you guys are fully staffed and on top of this, and anxious to see what happens here, but also cautious, with what's happening. Kevin, thank you very much. Let's get you up to date on the rest of the radar and across the country with severe weather expert Dr. Greg Forbes.
And Mike, there's been another report of a tornado Summertown in south central parts of Tennessee, and we've had the storms that have blasted across now the Nashville area they've changed character. They've changed more into a bow echo, but they're part of that same supercell thunderstorm, now a cluster that has come from the Clarksdale, Mississippi area, now over 260 miles into the Nashville area. So we'll start with Nashville and work our way around. Here is the tornado warning. It's now off to the east side of the Nashville area. You can see the storms just flying up toward areas south of Hendersonville, northeast suburbs of Nashville. Davidson, Sumner, Wilson counties, or at least part of them, still under tornado warning. And tracking this along, the Clover Hill area about 744, Green Hill area about 750. Probably more like damaging wind gusts, but can never really rule out a tornado. The other storm that had been tornado warned up near Springfield, Tennessee, no longer, but now has crossed into Kentucky, Allen, Simpson, and Warren counties with severe thunderstorm warnings. Then off farther to the north across Kentucky, Hardin, LaRue, and Nelson counties, damaging winds, and then up into areas east of Cincinnati in Ohio, Adams, Brown, and Highland counties with damaging wind threats. Here is the storm that has had tornado with that, Lawrence, Lewis, and Maury counties. Seek shelter there.
Want to update you on breaking situation with severe weather today. Holly Springs, Mississippi coroner James Anderson confirms to the Weather Channel the death of a 7-year-old boy. Anderson says the boy was found dead in a van heading south on Highway 7 outside of Holly Springs. The child was found in the van and his family was taken in unknown condition to a nearby hospital. Also, according to the Emergency Management Agency Director of Benton County, Mississippi, 2 people are dead, at least 3 people missing, and currently search and rescue teams are looking for the missing. Several homes have been destroyed or severely damaged. Power is out in many parts of the county. And here's what we know about the dangerous and now deadly situation tonight. Semi-trucks blown off the road when a tornado crossed I-55 in Sardis, Mississippi. At least 15 homes severely damaged or destroyed south of Clarksdale, Mississippi. In Noblesville, Indiana, 10 homes have been damaged by straight-line winds. Siding and roofing has been blown off, windows blown out, and trees toppled onto homes there. The issue now is storms going through the night. Let's check in with our severe weather expert, Dr. Greg Forbes, once again for a look at those warnings.
Thanks, Mike. And indeed, we still do have 3 tornado warnings. They're all at this point in Tennessee. The middle of the 3 here, that one right there, has been a confirmed tornado, a sighted tornado around Summertown, and it continues to roll off to the north and east. This particular storm, you can't see it. It's now in the northeast suburbs of Nashville, but that has gusted out a little bit. It was a supercell that has rolled at least from near Clarksdale, Mississippi, and that has caused some of the deaths that we've talked about, with 1 or more tornadoes coming up all the way into now the northeast suburbs, over 260 miles per hour, 260 miles for the path there. That is the remnants of the storm there. What's left of the warning is in Wilson County. Probably the tornado threat seems to be diminished from this. It has certainly passed the heart of downtown Nashville. So the remnants here, the storms continue to move so fast, it's hard to keep up to date with them. But the biggest threat here around now Cairo and Castilian Springs areas of Tennessee as that cluster of storms rolls off to the north and east. Then down to the storm that has had the tornado with it, sighted recently, Lawrence, Lewis, and Maury counties. Tornado warnings there down around a Highway 43 area. Taking a look at that one, you can see the greens and the reds as it's crossing Highway 43 south of the Columbia area. That's a tornado vortex signature. So tracking that one along, it's getting very close to Mount Pleasant right now, heading up into the Columbia area. Columbia about 8:02. So you should be seeking shelter there in a sturdy, lowest innermost portion of a sturdy building, because put a helmet on if you have that, protect your head. Also a tornado warning for Lawrence County there, and that one is in that little dog leg. That will be coming up toward places like Spencer Hill in Tennessee, the Culleoka areas in Tennessee, as it moves very fast off to the north and east. These are going about 50-55 miles per hour still this evening around the Etheridge area right now. Then some of the broad picture shows that the satellite imagery, cold pocket loft is pushed up into Minnesota and Wisconsin, but the tail end of this upper air system and the lifting ahead of that drags down into Mississippi. So you see the lavenders and blues, thunderstorms firing up in that lift. Kentucky, Tennessee, and probably will work their way across northern parts of Alabama and Georgia. And we still have thunderstorms that are ongoing in lines across parts of Ohio as well. Occasionally they're severe, occasionally across the Kentucky areas as well. Big area of thunderstorm warnings there, Allen, Simpson, and Warren counties in Kentucky. So still damaging winds, still tornadoes, and still flash flood threats are in progress tonight. Mike?
Dr. Forbes, thank you very much. Here's a look at some tornado images from today. This in Quitman County, Mississippi. This extreme north part of the state there, a storm that was racing here at about 50 miles an hour. Here's another view of it near Batesville, Mississippi, and you can see the multiple vortex within this. The vortices were just spinning all about the apparent circulation of that tornado, and storm chasers actually having to back away from that tornado as it was barreling down towards them. Also, some serious flooding in Searcy, Arkansas. This is Jerry Moore Field on the campus of Harding University. Reports also of trees that have been uprooted there as well. Well, storm damage also here in Holly Springs, Mississippi. Cars damaged, a couple overturned here on Highway 78. Pretty amazing to see some of these crumpled cars here, but one of the worst places you can be in your vehicle. If you can get to a sturdy shelter, it's a good place to be, and not necessarily in your vehicle. If you are trapped in your vehicle, keep your seatbelt on. Put your car in park and duck down below the window level. Your car can offer you some level of protection from flying debris. Here's the area that we're following, though, for the remainder of the night from the Gulf Coast all the way up through the Ohio Valley. As far as your tornado threat tonight, a Torcon of 8 in North Alabama, 80% chance of tornadoes. A 6 for you here in East Tennessee. That will include locations like, say, Chattanooga and Knoxville, and a 5 in Mississippi, South Alabama, and then Western Florida, Panhandle, Pensacola. That is us. So in Birmingham in particular, an 8. In Jackson, Tennessee, a 7, and in Mobile, Alabama, a Torcon of 4. Our tornado risk goes at least until 11 o'clock this evening. Continuing coverage for you until at least midnight. Up next, race agent Carl Parker and Sarah Dillingham.
That coverage of tonight's severe storm outbreak continues. I'm Ray Stajic, and we'll be live with you here on the Weather Channel till at least midnight. Tornadoes touching down in the heart of the country earlier. Large, long-track tornadoes have been seen in Mississippi. Major damage being reported there, as well as destruction in Louisiana. As you see in Indiana, there are tornado watches and warnings in nearly a dozen states. And some of those watches and warnings will be allowed to expire here shortly, but some of those will continue till about the midnight hour. We've got torcons of 8s in central parts of Alabama, also 6s in eastern Tennessee, and that would include Nashville, but it looks like your storm threat is lessening. And down near the Gulf Coast, we do have some torcon indices of a 5 out of 10, a 50% chance of a tornado within a 50-mile radius, and that does include parts of the Florida Panhandle. Well, here's a live look from one of our storm trackers, Brandon Clement, on the road near Como, Mississippi. Right now, we've got storms rolling on off toward the east and things settling down in Mississippi. But as you head east, things will be getting worse before they get any better. And it's very important tonight to stay close to the Weather Channel for constant updates and have a plan to get warnings everywhere you will be. We're here to keep you informed and prepared. I'm Ray Stajic. Today's tornado threat appears to be its highest all year, and it's continuing on into the nighttime hours tonight. We had a massive tornado strike in Batesville, Mississippi earlier. Check this out. Big wedge tornado here. You sure? Tracker capturing this video. Right there. This is why we are on live with you tonight. The threat for tornadoes not over yet, despite this late hour. So the watches, the warnings do continue, as we said, and most of these now will expire at 11 p.m. back out across western parts of Mississippi. Those will expire a little bit earlier, and some of them will expire within the next hour. So the watches, the warnings will continue. The watches meaning that we have the threat for tornadoes in and around the watch area, and a severe thunderstorm watch expiring a little bit earlier tomorrow morning at 3 a.m. but further toward the north. We're going to have team coverage now from the best specialist on TV. Sarah Dillingham is with us in the lab, but we'll begin with our storm specialist, Carl Parker. Carl?
Ray, thank you so much. Quite a day today with severe weather well to the north for this time of the year. And here's a look at all the storm reports that we've seen in the last 12 hours, and just a huge area of wind and tornadoes and hail extending well up into parts of the lakes, the Ohio Valley. Sarah's going to talk more about the areas to the north here in a moment. And this is the tornado producing storm that came across North Mississippi and southern Tennessee. The path length here at least 135 miles, and this is what is meant by a long track tornado. Long track violent tornadoes, the concern today, and we did in fact see one there in northern Mississippi, and unfortunately some deaths as a result of that storm. The threat is not over yet. Still some tornado warnings to tell you about across central parts of Tennessee. We've been watching a cell near Nashville. The warning on that has expired. The cell has weakened just a little bit coming up towards Castellian Springs, but there is an ongoing warning here for Giles, Lawrence, and Maury counties, and that extends just north of Lawrenceburg, where some damage has been reported from an apparent tornado. There's a look at the velocity data for you right now, and right in there is the couplet, as we say. So this area of red and green where it's sort of bumping up next to each other, that's where we're seeing circulation in the storm, and seeing some indication of some debris. It's not quite as well defined right now, but a possible tornado now coming into Route 43 and Etheridge and moving very rapidly, as they have been all along, to the northeast at about 55 to 60 miles per hour. We were also watching a circulation a little farther north, but that has weakened considerably as compared to what was happening earlier just about 10-20 minutes ago. Now, here into the Atlanta metro area, there are some storms coming through. The northwest side is of concern to us. Some of the models indicating that that area could get more active through the overnight and into the early morning hours. That is sort of a tornado alley across North Georgia. Right now, the storms are not that energetic, but what we've got here is the model forecast, and also we put on the low-level winds. So that's a big part of what creates tornadic storms, those very strong winds at about 5,000 feet up in the atmosphere. And here they are coming through as the model sees it. Now watch as we go forward into later tonight. You've got a line of storms there in Tennessee. You've got developing storms coming up in Alabama, parts of central Georgia, and we're still seeing those very strong low-level winds. So there still could be rotation within these storms. That's going to be an ongoing concern even into late tonight. Notice the coverage here. By midnight, strong storms there, northwest parts of Georgia, eastern Tennessee around Chattanooga, coming up into Atlanta, and then even into the overnight hours, more storms and still some very strong wind in the low levels. So an ongoing threat for damaging wind and tornadoes. Let's get a look at what's happening farther north now, and here's Sarah with the latest on that.
Yeah, Carl, thank you. You know, we've been talking about this very charged upper level system that's been moving through, and we were saying yesterday what we kind of lacked in instability in the northern portions of the U.S. we were going to make up for in the amount of forcing, and here's why. Take a look at this. You can see this big upper low that has really gotten wrapped up here, and you can see the center of it just to the west of Chicago. But take a look at this. We've got a large line of storms here that continues to push across the Ohio Valley, and that's caused some, and there we go, and that's caused some real problems there. Take a look at this. You even see some snow on the backside of the system. So what little cold air we do have filtering in, it is causing some snow there in the northern plains. We'll first take you just east of Cincinnati. We did have a severe thunderstorm warning on this particular cell that has since dropped off. This is just around Hillsboro, Ohio. And actually this storm was moving at about 65 miles per hour just about 30 minutes ago. So this is starting to gust out. It looks like, and there you see on the bottom right portion of your screen, we've got a live look at Memphis, Tennessee right now, where maybe some emergency vehicles out there stopped. Looks like they maybe stopped on the roadways somewhere there. But take a look, and it looks like we're losing some of our radar data. Some of our radars have been going in and out tonight. The Louisville radar has been down on and off, but we'll be monitoring that storm. The good news is that storm in southern Ohio, as it continues to push off to the east, that severe thunderstorm warning has dropped. Again, there just in north of Lexington, Kentucky, Bourbon, Fayette, and Harrison counties, you have a severe thunderstorm warning until 9:45 local time. And again, we're losing some of that radar data there, but we're going to time this out. In any case, Georgetown, expect that around 8:49 local time, around headquarters, Kentucky, 9:20, and West Union by 9:54. I want to jump down to the timing on these storms and kind of let you know what to expect over the next 24 to 48 hours. You can see this large line of storms is going to continue to push off to the east. We're going to have a lot of wind energy with this, Ray. So as this moves into Pittsburgh, you may see some damaging winds and maybe even some areas of hail.
All right, well, our special storm coverage and tonight's late night tornado threat will be continuing. Radar lighting up pretty good here, and we've got severe weather potentially now pushing into parts of Ohio. Heads up Mansfield off toward Cleveland. Storms right now not severe, but certainly have the potential to go severe further on down toward the south, as Sarah was just talking about. Some of those storms getting into northeast central Kentucky. All right, active storms now and even a new tornado warning, and that's in parts of eastern Tennessee. I think we're going to go to Carl Parker. Carl, you got the latest on this storm rolling east?
Ray, this is one that had a warning on it earlier, dropped out for a little while. Now getting another warning on this cell. So this is Maury and Williamson counties under warning. This is south of Nashville and right along 65. And as all of these cells have been doing, it's moving very rapidly now northeast, about 60 miles per hour. That's going until 8:45. There's an ongoing tornado warning to the south of that. Got some damage with this storm near Lawrenceburg. Lawrence County, Maury, Giles counties under warning right now. Here is a look at the velocity data, and so we're seeing a very strong signature with this storm continuing. That is now just southeast of Mount Pleasant and coming up towards 31. So heads up there in Fountain Heights. Time to get to your safe place in Fountain Heights, maybe the south side of Columbia and Culleoka as well. And then here is the warning off to the north, and we are seeing a circulation right in here. Not quite as well defined there, but possible tornado coming into Route 6, Spring Hill, and then possibly up towards Bethesda as well. Ray, over to you.
All right, thanks, Carl. And we're going to go now. We're going to do a little live chat. We've got one of our storm trackers out, and Kelly Williamson now. He's out with us. And Kelly, we're hearing you're out near the Memphis area. What can you tell us right now about what's going on?
Well, right now they're doing some search and rescue in some houses out here, and I've got a lot of filming lights and that on my truck, and they sent us down here to light up some houses and that so they could see a little bit better.
Yeah, and any reports of what are you seeing in terms of reports of damage? Are you saying you can't see anything now, and has the storm threat passed, or is it still raining, still got wind? It looks like by radar everything's looking to clear to the east.
Yeah, right here where we're at, everything's still clear. It's not raining or anything right now. A lot of trees down. We're having trouble getting back in here to where the houses are right now. But I've heard that there seems to be a lot of fatalities in this area, and it doesn't really sound good.
Certainly not. And you plan on trying to stay in the area, Kelly, or are you going to try to go east and try to catch up with some of these other storms heading east?
No, we're going to stay here. They was needing some help. They don't have very many big lights, and I've got a very big light on my truck, and so we're going to light up some of the houses for them where they can see a little bit better. And we've already got a motel rooms for tonight, so we're going to stay here tonight, and then we'll come through the damage paths tomorrow and see if we can document where the storm and the damage is actually done.
Kelly, this is Carl Parker. I wonder if you could tell us about some of the damage indicators that you've seen and what you're thinking this might possibly be in terms of the EF scale.
You know, that would be hard for me to do, and what I've seen, everything I've seen has been after dark, and it would be kind of hard to say what EF scale it was, but I know it was real wide, and if I was just going to say a guess, I would say a 2 or a 3. You know, I'm sure it varied, you know, the length that it was in the ground. I'm sure it cycled some and was stronger in some places than others.
All right, Kelly, thank you very much, and we appreciate that. It's Kelly Williamson out storm tracking right now, and we want to get quickly now to the heavy rain threat, and as it rolls on off toward the east, heavy rain in the forecast, but improving conditions. Right now, we're watching storms rolling on through and heading on off toward the east as heavy rain moves into the southeast. Stay tuned. All right, here's the latest. So a tornado warning now includes Davidson County, Cheatham County, Dixon County. Davidson County, the home county of Nashville. That's until 8:45. So once again, tornadic cell potentially moving on into the downtown Nashville area. Carl's going to have a bunch on that coming up in just a second. We also have a severe tornado watch now. It's been extended a little further east and south. Birmingham now in this tornado watch until 4 o'clock local time. And the watches and warnings spread further on off toward the north, too, with the watches getting as far north as the Tennessee-Kentucky border for tornadoes, and the severe thunderstorm watches further north in yellow in effect until 3 o'clock this morning. Right now outside the window, you can imagine what this woman felt like as the severe weather continues to rip on through parts of the southeastern U.S. Check this out. As she's seeing in her sights a tornado right outside the driver's side window here in northwest Mississippi, near Clarksdale. So pretty impressive, and severe weather continues to rolling east out of Mississippi as we speak. But as you can see there, dangerous storms rolling during the afternoon hours, and now that severe weather is rolling right on into the nighttime hours tonight. So severe storms once again threatening Nashville, Tennessee, and now a tornado watch that's headed further south. Carl, what's the latest?
Yeah, so we've got a tornado warning, as you mentioned, for the Nashville Metro, and it looks like this rotation is going to be headed right for downtown Nashville. Right now, it's not the most pronounced circulation I've ever seen, but certainly there is one there. And let's take a look at it on the radar picture. Now moving very rapidly to the east, so it's going to be into Nashville in short order, about 50 miles per hour right now. Let's take a look at the particulars on that. That's going until 8:45, and the movement here is northeast at 55 miles per hour. Here is the velocity data. So we'll zoom in a little bit for you right now, and right in there, that is where the circulation is. So right in here, that's where, sitting right on top of Route 70 in Kingston Springs, that's where the possible tornado is, right along Route 70, and that is going to be coming again east and possibly right into Nashville, maybe the northwest side of the Nashville metro area. So you need to be aware of this. We're going to continue to follow it very, very closely. We'll keep a close eye on what's going on with this storm, but a possibly very dangerous storm coming into the Nashville metro here, and we'll continue to follow it closely. We want to show you also some video from earlier today in Clarksdale, Mississippi. I want to bring in Sarah to take a look at this as well. And Sarah, really interesting to see that this storm at this point out in that open country there, where we saw some horizontal vortex tubes indicating that really strong vertical motion in the storm, similar to what we saw with the Tuscaloosa tornado 5 years ago. Yeah,
you know, Carl, it's in some of these more intense tornadic environments that we really see these kinds of pictures. I mean, you can see that there. I mean, there's no mistaking that. That is a tornado. That's as classic as it gets. You know, at one point, this had become that wedge tornado where we say it's wider than it is tall. And yeah,
see that right there?
Yeah, you see that little tendril. I don't know if we could get that video on our telestrators here, but you know, you could see that little horizontal vortex there kind of sticking out from that there. Yeah, Carl's got that right there. So, I mean, you can really see that. It's and maybe even like some right in there, you know, just kind of wrapping around. That just lets you know there's a lot of shear in the environment. It's almost like you're watching tornado vortex theory in motion. You're actually seeing these horizontal tubes get stretched and pulled into the circulation. So it's really quite incredible, Carl, when we see these.
Yeah, you know, so what's happening here is you've got such strong vertical motion going up and into. It's not just a rotation, there's also inflow, and then there's vertical motion. And with that vertical motion, you actually get a little bit of shear on the outside edge of that, and that's how you get these little horizontal rotations there. So an incredibly strong storm across northern Mississippi earlier tonight, and the threat is not over. A tornado warning now for the Nashville metro area. We're going to have the latest on this coming up in just a moment.
And we are tracking a particularly dangerous situation right now as severe storms push east. An ongoing tornado outbreak is in play already. Reports of more than a dozen tornadoes in several states from Mississippi to Tennessee and as far north as Illinois. And still over 8 million people under some sort of tornado watch or warning, with torcons of 7 and 8 in many cities and a 6 currently in Nashville. Well, welcome back, and we are in severe storm mode here all night. Welcome back to Weather Center Live. I'm meteorologist Ray Stajic, and if you're just tuning in, we've had a very destructive day unfold, and we're in it for a dangerous night. As we continue to go through the next few hours, severe thunderstorm watches and warnings are coming out as we speak, and video of tornadoes like this in Quitman County in Mississippi. Quitman County is about 1.5 hours south of Memphis, Tennessee, and you can see here tornado in the distance. Looks like they're far enough away, obviously, to be safe from this. But this is what we've seen as we've gone through the daylight hours: is tornadoes, and yeah, some pretty large tornadoes also. The watches and warnings currently lined up from the southeastern U.S. The latest here does include Birmingham, Alabama. The tornado watch until 4 o'clock Central Time, and then further on off toward the north, we do have the tornado watches extending on to central Tennessee. So Nashville, yes, even up near Lexington, that's a severe thunderstorm watch until 3 o'clock in the morning, and severe storms in and around the watch boxes are possible, if not likely. We're going to go to our storm specialist, Carl Parker, now for the latest. Carl?
All right, Ray, so we've got an ongoing threat in central parts of Tennessee, and we may yet see even more tornado warnings in the overnight hours across some parts of the southeast, including possibly into North Alabama, northwest Georgia, and eastern Tennessee. And right now we got a lot going on in central parts of Tennessee, and that's what remains of these cells that came through northern Mississippi. All of those red dots are tornado reports. So one storm producing one tornado or maybe a family of tornadoes over a very long distance. This is what is meant by long track tornadoes. That was the worry early on today, as we knew that conditions were just right for a severe weather outbreak and a tornado outbreak. So right now, got some lingering warnings to tell you about. Into the Nashville metro, the tornado warning has been dropped here. That's Cheatham and Davidson County now under severe thunderstorm warning. Not a big surprise when we look at the velocity data. We were watching a little bit of a rotation in here. Now not very well defined at all. So the threat here is going to be damaging wind coming into the Nashville metro. And then to the south of that, Maury, Williamson County under warning until 8:45. Most recent warning, though, is for Marshall, Maury, and Williamson County, and this cell has been rotating for a very long time, still showing a very strong area of rotation. That is now just east of 65, so it's this right in there coming into Route 431. That's going to be moving up towards Bethesda, as well as Eagleville and Chapel Hill. Looking at a possible tornado moving towards 31A, and again, still very strong rotation here. We'll look at the correlation coefficient to see if there's any evidence of debris right now, and that really does appear to be ambiguous at this time, but certainly a very strong rotation continuing. And again, that's right near 431, and that is moving north-northeast rapidly, about 55 miles per hour. So that's going to be coming up on the north side of Chapel Hill and towards Eagleville as well. Heads up there in Eagleville, you may need to get to your safe spot very quickly. You are within that tornado warning, and strong rotation now generally coming your way as it rapidly moves northeast, and we'll continue to watch that closely. We'll have another update in just a few minutes. Now, farther south, we've got a lot of storms now into Alabama and Georgia. They're not doing that much right now, but what's interesting about this is that stronger upper level and low level winds are going to be moving more into this area overnight, and that may increase the threat a little bit through the overnight hours. In fact, here's the model forecast. We've got the low level winds painted in here, winds at about 5,000 feet. This is a big part of what causes rotating storms. And you notice as we go through tonight, we've still got these very strong winds sitting right across Alabama, eastern Tennessee, North Georgia. Still some instability in the atmosphere, and the model does in fact paint some discrete cells there in the Atlanta metro, as well as into eastern Tennessee, northern Alabama, right into very late tonight. So it's certainly possible that we'll see some additional tornadic circulations, and we'll be watching that very closely. Let's get a look at what's happening farther north now, and here's Sarah with that.
Yeah, Carl, thank you. So, I mean, we know that this has been a large tornado outbreak. Well, not a large tornado outbreak, but a tornado outbreak nonetheless here in the southern states. But as you move up to the north, it's been largely a wind event. We've had a few tornado reports mixed in with that. But let's take a look at this right now. We're right here underneath the upper level forcing as you move into the Ohio Valley. And so this system is going to continue to charge off to the north and the east at about 5,000 feet. Those winds are at about 60 to 70 miles per hour. And so as we have these showers and thunderstorms push through, we're going to be mixing down some of those stronger winds down to the ground. We've already had reports in Benton and Owen, Kentucky earlier today of 75-mile-per-hour wind gusts. Now, the good news is right now the only severe warnings we have right now are in northern Kentucky, and that has passed some of the larger metros there, including Cincinnati. But Columbus, you just got smacked by this line of thunderstorms. It is no longer severe warned, but still could expect winds of 40 to 50 miles per hour as this line charges off to the east at about 50 miles per hour. So if you're traveling on Interstate 70, want to make sure you pull off to the sides of the roads as you see this thing coming, because you know any kind of a crosswind or any winds on those roadways not going to be good out there if you're any motorist. So take a look. We do have 2 severe thunderstorm warnings for Bath, Fleming, and Rowan counties. This is just north of Interstate 64, and this is right now moving through Lexington. So we could expect 50 to 60 mile per hour winds with this. And look at this, Maysville 9:29. That's your timing. Garrison around 10:10, and Portsmouth around 10:19 as that storm's going to be moving towards you. We're going to be watching this very closely, Ray, but again, damaging winds very likely with these.
All right, thank you very much, Sarah. And we're going to go now to where the latest severe weather threat has been, and that's in Nashville, Tennessee. We're going to go to Daryl Massey, meteorologist at the National Weather Service in Nashville. And Daryl, what can you tell us about the latest? We had a warned storm earlier, and then they just dropped a warning on a second cell coming through Davidson County. Any reports of damage?
No reports of damage in Davidson right now. Most of the damage we've had so far this evening has been southwest of Nashville in the southwestern corner of Middle Tennessee, and unfortunately a couple of deaths have been reported.
Okay, and anything in terms of power outages? I mean, I know these are quick-moving storms, but what are you hearing from local officials on power outages?
Quite a few power outages, even in northern parts of Middle Tennessee where tornadoes haven't necessarily been present, but power knocked out quite a few due to wind, probably some lightning as well.
And in the immediate Davidson area, can you confirm no reports of damage in and around Davidson County? Looks like most of it was south and southwest.
So far, that's the way it looks. Of course, damage reports are sometimes slow to come in, but so far, the worst damage certainly seems to be in the southwest part of Middle Tennessee.
Okay, what's the plan for the night? I mean, you think if this line goes through, looks like another couple of hours and you're potentially out of it, or you think more severe weather as we go through the overnight?
So far, you know, we've pretty much been keeping in line with the Severe Storms Prediction Center, which mainly tracks this line on to the south through the night. We're under a tornado watch through 11 p.m., so we'll be watching that. Hopefully, that will start to diminish as the night wears on, but we'll just have to keep an eye on it.
Now, Daryl, considering that this is December, I mean, how important was it, did you feel, to get the message across that this could have been a potentially significant tornado outbreak? And again, you know, we're already seeing storms continue to move through, but I mean, what is the main message that you want to hit home to folks still experiencing these storms?
You know, I think by and large, the media, we try to do the same thing, get the point across that even though it is December, with these type of warm temperatures and the amount of dynamics that are in the atmosphere, you're going to have a strong potential for tornadoes. And I guess that's the main point to get across is Christmas time certainly is not the time you typically are thinking about tornadoes. but the weather can certainly produce those same dynamics that we would have back in March and April.
All right, well, that's Daryl Massey with the National Weather Service. And Daryl, stay safe. Nashville, Tennessee, under the gun. Right now, the tornado warnings are to their south. And as he said, really not seeing too much in the way of damage in and around the city. Well, we're going to stay with you here live at severe weather, and the tornado threat continues out across parts of the south. And right now, we're going to go into Nashville, Tennessee, and take a look at the camera. Vanderbilt University, excuse me. Right now, things look pretty calm. It looks like storms are continuing to roll on off toward the east, but more may fire. Looks like the threat, though, heading out of Nashville and on off toward the east. Stay tuned. And busy night here as severe storms continue to roll on through the southeast and the Tennessee Valley. The red boxes, tornado warnings, and the yellow boxes are actually severe thunderstorm warnings as severe weather continues to roll. Now, the Atlanta metro area, nothing yet, but the potential does exist for maybe some of these storms to go severe, so there might be an isolated, stronger, or severe storm through the overnight hours. And we'll continue to track these storms as we head on through not only tonight but into the early morning hours if necessary as severe weather fires, and we'll be giving the warnings to you as they come up here as we go through the next couple of hours. So once again, storms firing on off toward the east and rolling into the southeastern U.S. All right, now the storms have turned deadly in Arkansas. A tree fell in a home here. Check out this damage. Unfortunately, looks like they're going to have some problems there about 70 miles northwest of Little Rock, killing an 18-year-old woman. Rescuers were able to save a toddler who was also trapped under the tree. So unfortunately, we've been seeing severe weather and reports of trees down and tornadoes and reports of damage just like that, and death and devastation also in Holly Springs, one of the larger tornadoes in Mississippi. And I was out near Memphis. And let's go now to our reporter, Lauren Squires, WMC-TV in Holly Springs, Mississippi. Lauren, the tone there has changed to somber since authorities learned a 7-year-old boy has died there. What's the latest?
Yeah, we just talked to the police chief. He says this is one of the worst situations he's ever seen as his time here in Holly Springs. As you said, a 7-year-old was killed. We've also confirmed a second person was killed. We spoke with the uncle of that 7-year-old who said they got to a car to try to take shelter, and that's when the tornado hit. Unfortunately, he lost his life. Now, we are live from a very active scene. This is in the Walmart parking lot right here in Holly Springs, just south of the city. We have all of these emergency responders here. They are waiting to respond to any of the active search and rescue crews that are out on the scenes. Now, we've been told power lines are down, cars are overturned. An 18-wheeler was even blown off the road, and one man told me he saw the tornado crossing the highway, said it was at least a half a mile wide. He watched it wipe through houses, turn over roofs. Certainly quite a devastating situation here, and there's definitely much more to be seen once the sun comes up tomorrow. This parking lot will likely be filled throughout the night as emergency responders and search and rescue crews are called out to various locations. A lot of devastation here in Holly Springs just 2 days before Christmas. We talked to a lot of people who are just waiting to get past the down power lines to see the destruction. Of course, this story will continue to develop, I'm sure, throughout the coming days. Certainly a sad story here out in Holly Springs.
All right, well, thank you very much. As you can see there, some devastation, and those storms luckily pushed on off toward the east, so the cleanup continues. But more storms now firing here as we go through early nighttime hours. I'll go to Carl Parker now, our storm specialist. Carl, what's the latest?
Ray, we've got a warning ongoing now south of Nashville. Just a heartbreaking story out of Holly Springs. Those folks apparently getting in a car to get away. And there's been a lot of discussion about that in recent years, about whether or not that's the best thing to do. And generally it is felt that it is not the best thing to do unless you're in a trailer or something like that. But even then, you're really taking a lot of risks by trying to outrun a tornado. Oftentimes you can't do it, and that appears to have been the case in this case. Here's what's happened so far in the last couple of hours in central parts of Tennessee. A lot of reports of wind damage now west of 65, Columbia down to Lawrenceburg. You notice here in Nashville, some storms coming through. No warnings on these cells right now. There was a tornado warning that has been allowed to expire, as the storm has been weakening, but there is still a very strong storm now to the south and east of 65. That's Marshall, Rutherford, Williamson counties under warning. Looking at a strong circulation now, maybe loosening somewhat, but still a very strong circulation just now passing through Eagleville. And we'll take a look at what is possibly downstream here, maybe Almaville as well. Routes 96 and 640 could possibly get towards Murfreesboro as well as it moves to the northeast about 55 miles per hour. And then farther south down here into Georgia as well as in Alabama, things are quiet for now, but we do expect that the winds are going to get a lot stronger in the low levels of the atmosphere going through the next several hours here. That may energize these storms somewhat, so it is possible that we'll see some stronger storms overnight in this area, and we'll talk more about that threat coming up in a few minutes. Ray, over to you.
All right, Carl, it's going to be a busy night, and our special coverage of tonight's late-night tornado threat will be continuing as storms threaten the southeastern U.S., numerous watches and even warnings out as the biggest storms look like they're now heading on into parts of Kentucky, maybe even into southeastern parts of Ohio. Stay tuned.
The lab is...
All right, welcome back. We want to update you now, take a moment to give you the latest of the reports we received of fatalities during this severe weather outbreak in Benton County, Mississippi. 2 people are dead and at least 3 others still missing. Reports are several homes have been damaged or destroyed in that area. The coroner in Marshall County, Mississippi has confirmed a 7-year-old boy has also died. The boy was found dead in a van heading south on a local highway. And in Arkansas, a tree fell on a home about 70 miles northwest of Little Rock, killing an 18-year-old woman. Rescuers were able to save a toddler who was also trapped under a tree. So big-time severe weather, and unfortunately, we've got reports of fatalities. And this is what it looked like in the video of Clarksdale, Mississippi. As you can see, we've got trees uprooted, and the new video showing the devastation here in this area. And this was one of the areas that was most hardest hit with a funnel cloud. Can't quite see it there, but reports of funnel clouds in the Clarksdale, Mississippi area. Lots of thunder and lightning as this tornado outbreak kind of peaked late in the afternoon and during the early evening hours, as now the storms have to some extent died off just a little bit, but they still continue to fire. And we are having some, I'd go maybe not pulse type severe, but still some severe storms and the occasional tornadic. So we want to go now to the latest and go to our severe weather specialist. That's Carl Parker.
All right, Ray, so quite a day today, and just an amazing severe weather outbreak for this time of the year. Of course, usually it's not this warm and humid. We've had some record moisture values coming up into the East Coast, and you just generally don't have this much of what we call instability available for storms, though we've seen a lot more of this in recent years. And in fact, last December 23rd was also very active in Mississippi. So here's a look at all of the reports that we've gotten so far today across the Ohio Valley, down through Tennessee into the deep south. Many reports of wind damage as well as hail there across the Ohio Valley. And then you've got the tornadoes. There were some tornadoes near the upper low here up into parts of Iowa and Illinois, but by far most of the tornadoes down across the southeast. And here's a look at what happened earlier today. I want to turn back the clock a little bit and show you these tornado reports, and you see a big long line of them. This is what we call a long track tornado. May not have necessarily been one tornado all the way through, but certainly it was the same parent storm over a very long distance, 100 miles plus, and at least the same storm putting down putting down tornadoes, and that is what is meant by long track tornadoes. At least for some period of time, we had a tornado on the ground for a very long time. And we've got ongoing threat here across the central part of Tennessee. We'll zoom on down and show you what's going on in Nashville. And here there was a tornado warning at the top of the hour. That has been allowed to expire, so just general thunderstorms coming through now. No warning on those, but we've still got a tornado warning to tell you about, and that is now just west of Murfreesboro. That is Rutherford County under warning, and this is going until 9:15. And here's a look at the velocity data on that. So kind of an elongated area of spin. Looks like there might be one in here, and then another area in there. That that is now coming up generally towards Murfreesboro, so possible tornado headed your way, and this is rapidly now moving to the northeast about 50 miles per hour. Also looks like another warning that looks like that's what's left of a warning off to the south of that. So that was the continuation there going into Murfreesboro. And again, you've got a couple of areas of circulation here. It's sort of elongated, but certainly possible tornado coming up into that area, and we'll continue to watch that closely. And also now there is a severe warning for Lawrence, Lewis, and Wayne counties. That is going until 9:15. That is now moving into the 43 corridor, and we've already had a lot of reports of trees down and damage around Lawrenceburg earlier today, and got another big storm on the way with possible wind damage coming in short order. So looking forward to the rest of the night. We are expecting that there are going to be more strong storms coming in to parts of Georgia as well as North Alabama and also Tennessee. You notice there are still very strong low-level winds moving in across the region, and those low-level winds are a big part of what allows us to get those discrete cells that are more likely to produce tornadoes and damaging winds. So that is going to be an ongoing threat even into the late evening hours, overnight hours, and we'll watch that move up into parts of the Appalachians overnight tonight. Ray, over to you.
All right, Carl, thanks. And we're going to stay on and stay with you live as the severe weather and the tornado threat continues. It remains active in the south, and one of those places that remain inactive is Nashville. Looks like you've got more storms possible. Right now, temperature 70 degrees, a south wind at 33 miles an hour.
Look how big that dude is. Oh my gosh.
All right, severe weather today, severe weather tonight. That's what it looked like, and here's what it looks like, well, kind of in Auburn, Alabama. Tough to see with some rain around and some gusty winds even outside of thunderstorms. Right now, temperatures are, I believe, in the 70s with dew points in the low 60s, almost a springtime setup as our tornado outbreak continues here on this Wednesday night. It's very important tonight that you stay close to the Weather Channel for constant updates. Have a plan to get your warnings everywhere you will be. If you are traveling, know how and where you're going to get your warnings from, and actually what counties you're going to be in. We're here to keep you informed and prepared. I'm meteorologist Ray Stajic. Today's tornado threat now rolling into the nighttime hours seems to be our highest all year. One of these places that was hit, check this out. Large wedge tornado strikes Batesville, Mississippi. Earlier, tracker capturing this video. Check that out. Luckily staying far enough away to avoid anything in the way of unfortunate things happening, but luckily it looks like that tornado, at least at that time, out in an open field. And we think now as we go through the nighttime hours, a tornado threat diminishing just a little bit, but still we do have a tornado watch in effect. And this watch actually has been extended now a little further south and east until 4 o'clock in the morning in central Alabama. Further to the north, it's tornado watches until 11, including Nashville, and then we have in yellow severe thunderstorm watches, and those are in effect until 3 o'clock and 11 o'clock respectively. All right, we've got the best storm coverage, the best specialists in television, and right now we're going to one of them, storm specialist Carl Parker. Carl, what is the latest on the severe weather?
Well, so we're still watching severe storms across central parts of Tennessee right now. Storms are also going in parts of Mississippi and northwestern Alabama. We're going to watch that really closely over the next several hours here to see if they become a little bit more energetic. I want to turn the clock back and show you what happened earlier this evening, and there was basically one cell that produced at least a family of tornadoes, possibly tornadoes that covered a lot of ground, and this is what we mean by long track tornadoes. You see there are a whole series of reports from one parent storm there over a very long distance, and unfortunately that storm not only causing a lot of damage but actually causing a loss of life as well there in northern Mississippi earlier today. So what's left of those storms is now coming up through central parts of Tennessee. You've got a couple of warnings to tell you about, the first of which is this tornado warning into Nashville. Right now we're looking pretty good, but there's a tornado warning to the southeast in Rutherford County that does include Murfreesboro. Now, as we're looking at the circulation in this storm, there is an elongated circulation. So when it's really tight, when it's very circular, that's when you get more concerned about the possibility of a tornado. Certainly there is still a chance that this storm is producing a tornado. There's still a strong circulation there, but it's a lot more elongated. It's not quite as concentrated, but still there is definitively a shear area in there. You've got an area where winds are coming together right through here, and so it certainly is possible that this storm is producing a tornado. When we look at what's called the correlation coefficient, we're looking for evidence of debris. We're not really seeing any evidence of that right now. It doesn't mean the storm is not producing a tornado. We're just not seeing any evidence of that right now. So that's going to be passing along the north and northwest side of Murfreesboro, and then coming up right across Route 231 as well. Well, south of that, big storm coming into Lawrenceburg right now. Was warned on. It's not being warned on now, but boy, we had a lot of reports of trees down and wind damage there from Lawrenceburg on northward up towards Columbia earlier this evening. Then to the south of that, you see more storms that are developing, and you see how they've got this sort of elongated kind of strewn appearance. That's really indicative of the amount of wind that is in the lower levels of the atmosphere, and that low-level wind field is going to come over and into northeastern parts of Alabama and North Georgia later tonight. And as it does so, storms may become a little bit more energetic there in Alabama and Tennessee, as well as possibly into the Atlanta metro area. So we're certainly not out of the woods at this time. Got a lot to continue to follow, even well into the evening and overnight hours. All right, let's see what's going on farther north right now, and here's Sarah with a look at that.
Yeah, thanks, Carl. Yeah, we know we've got this big charged upper level low that continues to push off to the north and east. And you take a look at this water vapor image here. You can really see that counterclockwise circulation around that very strong area of low pressure. You can see some dry air there working its way in just to the west of Chicago. But out ahead of it, all of that moisture and those showers and thunderstorms continue to push off to the east. Let's take a look at where some of these are right now. And take a look at this. Even some snow on the backside with a little bit of cold air that we actually do have associated with this system, even behind the front, which is located about right there right now. The temperatures are still in the 40s, so not incredibly cold. That's actually what you should be seeing this time of year. But we do still have a few severe thunderstorm warnings we want to take you to now. And we're going to work our way south to north. We're starting now in central Kentucky. This severe thunderstorm warning is in effect for Greene and Taylor counties until 10:30 Eastern time. And we're kind of looking at these because these are those isolated cells, and we kind of take a closer look here. It looks like we are developing a little bit of a couplet here. We're going to get a little bit of a closer look on this. So just to this north of Gresham, you can see a little bit of that counterclockwise rotation right there. You got the greens going, or reds coming away from the radar, and greens going towards the radar. So you see that counterclockwise motion there. So we're going to be watching this storm as it moves off to the east at about 40 to 50 miles per hour. In Campbellsville, you could be in the path of this, so no tornado warning on it yet, but we're going to be looking at that one closely. All right, taking a look further off to the north, Moorhead, expect some strong storms moving through your area, potentially 60-mile-per-hour winds with this. Bath, Fleming, and Rowan counties, severe thunderstorm warning for you. And we finally gotten another severe thunderstorm warning issued on this right as it's about to cross Interstate 77 in eastern Ohio. This warning, let's see if I can get that to query there. This warning is in effect and includes the city of Cambridge in Ohio, but Guernsey and Tuscarawas County, I'll get that right in just a minute. Severe thunderstorm warning for you in effect until 10:45 local time. We'll time this out. Zanesville right on top of you now. Parkersburg there, 11:05 and 11:30. Wheeling, expect this to come down to your area. So we'll get a look at the timing on these really quick as we go throughout the remainder of the evening so you can see where to expect these storms to move. And we've plotted the 850 millibar winds here, or the winds at about 5,000 feet. These winds still are about 60 to 70 miles per hour. So as these storms moved off to the east, we're going to continue to possibly see some of those stronger winds mixed down to the surface rays. So potentially 50 to 60 mile per hour wind gusts with these.
All right, pretty impressive, and it continues, and we'll continue our special coverage late through the nighttime hours if necessary as the tornado threat continues. Atlanta, it's been rain so far, had a little thunder, little lightning, actually shook the building here at the Weather Channel, but right now it looks like most of the storms are heading on off to the west and non-severe at this point, but once again, that could change as we go through the next few hours. Stay tuned. And right now, flood watches are up out across the southeastern U.S., but also a severe weather threat, too. And severe weather threatening with tornado watches in effect and severe storms. They've died down just a bit, but some of these storms have still been tornadic. No reports yet over the past hour or two of anything confirmed, but we're still looking at that chance for more severe storms as we head on through tonight. Possibly some more tornadic cells. Right now, the storms have turned deadly in Arkansas. Unfortunately, a tree fell on a home this morning in Pope County, about 70 miles northwest of Little Rock, killing an 18-year-old woman. Rescuers were able to save a toddler who was also trapped under a tree. So unfortunately, there are again reports of fatalities with these storms coming in as our tornado outbreak continues now into the nighttime hours. And one of the places that may be affected, Birmingham, Alabama. Kevin Laws, Science Operation Officer, National Weather Service, Birmingham. Kevin, so far, it looks like Birmingham has had more miss than hit, and we've seen the storms over in Mississippi. What are we thinking as we head through the next few hours?
Yeah, Ray, that's what we're looking at right now. Those storms are just coming across the state line from Mississippi into Alabama. So as we expected, they were going to blow back up, and that's exactly what we're looking for over the next couple hours, maybe through the entire nighttime hours at this point. So that's our main concern right now, is that next line of convergence that's now out ahead of the main line that produced all the tornadoes earlier. So that's our biggest concern going through the overnight hours.
Now, Kevin, as you were looking at some of the data, the latest data coming in, what were some of the key factors that you looked at in making this decision to issue this, well, in the Storm Prediction Center issues this tornado watch, but I mean, what are some of the specific factors they were looking at here?
Yeah, well, a couple things. The dew points continue to come up. Even though the sun's going down, the temperatures keep going up. So right now we're in the process of launching a special sounding, upper air sounding, to take another close look at the upper levels of the atmosphere. But again, the parameters keep going up, even though the nighttime hours have come upon us.
Hey, Kevin, tell us a little more about the main threat you think. We do have a tornado watch, but what do you think you're going to get when that balloon goes up and you start getting the readings? Are you thinking tornadoes? Are you thinking damaging straight line winds, or maybe just a heavy rain?
Well, it could be a little bit of all three, but obviously our biggest concern is the tornadoes, especially as we get into the nocturnal hours. And you know, people can't see, you don't have the visibility that we did when it was daytime, so the spotters will have a much harder time. So the main threat will be the tornado threat out of this, and that's what we're going to be looking at. Again, the parameters are all favorable to have tornadoes, and maybe even some significant ones to the overnight. And we just don't want people letting their guard down just because the sun's going down. It's been a long day. People have been seeing everything that's happened upstream in Mississippi and Tennessee. So we just want to make sure everybody stays vigilant through the overnight hours.
Yeah. All right, that's Kevin Laws with the National Weather Service over in Birmingham, and it looks like now they are expecting to see some severe weather, and we're going to stay with you live as the severe weather threat continues and the tornado threat remains active out across the south. Atlanta, Georgia, once again, a live look here from the Coca-Cola World headquarters. Right now, temperature's pretty mild and starting to see that south breeze pick up with a few shower storms around. None severe, at least not just yet. Stay tuned. All right, continuing coverage now of our tornado outbreak. Looking live right now, Walnut, Mississippi, and looks, yeah, certainly some tree damage there. Looks like some fairly decent sized trees as this video is coming in from us right now. And that's Kelly Williamson now, tracker that's tracking the latest, and looks like he's kind of on the tail end of the severe storms here in Mississippi, but certainly seeing some tree damage and look like at one point some fairly decent sized trees as severe weather continues here as we head on through the nighttime hours on this Wednesday, the 23rd of December. Nonetheless, so severe weather continuing now as we head through the morning, and these tornado watches, this one in effect for Birmingham until 4 o'clock in the morning local time, as the storms really haven't gotten fired up yet into central parts of Alabama. Nashville, you're until 11 p.m. local time, and then in yellow severe thunderstorm watches in parts of Kentucky and into Ohio until 11 p.m. and 3 a.m. respectively, as some of these storms continue to go severe and at times even tornadic. But right now, now, no active warnings here east of Nashville and heading toward Murfreesboro once again, but strong storms producing a bunch of lightning and some heavy rainfall into the Atlanta metro area. Right now, we haven't seen any severe warnings. There's been a bunch of thunder and some lightning and some scattered areas of showers and thunderstorms. No watch boxes yet, at least for severe. There is a flash flood watch in effect, but right now severe weather has not threatened Atlanta. All right, let's take a look at some video now, and this video is coming in from Clarksdale, Mississippi. And you can see this traveler looking out, looks like the driver's side window here in northwest Mississippi. You can kind of see there in the background that tornado. I could barely make it out, right in the center top of the screen there. And it looks like that in northwest Mississippi. Once again in Clarksdale, video coming in of this tornado. All right, now we're going to get the latest now with Sarah Dillingham. She's one of our storm specialists here at the Weather Channel. And more severe storms, Sarah, firing. What's the latest? Where's the worst?
Yeah, Ray. Well, you know, we've just seen a plethora of storm reports so far today as this system has just gotten incredibly charged. Let's take a look quickly at some of the storm reports that we've seen already today. You can really see how they started firing up earlier in this afternoon, and they even started in Arkansas overnight last night, unfortunately even killing one woman there in her home. But you can see everything just started pumping up today, and you see all these tornadoes, and look at those right there. That was one of our longer track tornadoes, the Clarksdale, Mississippi tornado, and we're going to go and analyze that video in here in just a moment. But really quickly update you on what is ongoing there. The good news is all of those severe warnings have now dropped from central Tennessee, as Ray was saying, but now we do have a flash flood warning in effect for those areas to the south and west of Nashville as those storms are training over the same area. And we do have one little isolated cell here in eastern Mississippi, just south of the Columbus area. This severe thunderstorm warning is for Lowndes and Noxubee County until 9:45 Central Time. And we're going to be watching these storms. You see a few more little isolated cells trying to pop there, and that's kind of indicative of the environment that we continue to see developing here in Alabama. We still have a lot of spin in the atmosphere and a lot of directional shear, those change in the wind speeds or wind directions with height as you go up in the atmosphere. I mean, we're talking like a lot of shear here that could still potentially produce some strong tornadoes. So now right here, we've got a few storm reports from this tornado that we're going to check out here on video and take a look at this. This was one of the more incredible sights that we saw earlier today. This again was out of Clarksdale, Mississippi. We're going to be watching to see what the National Weather Service ends up rating this tornado, but certainly we've seen some significant damage from this. But what's most interesting is if you remember back to 2011 where we saw so many large tornadoes, and you sometimes could see these horizontal vortex tubes kind of going up in around the funnel. You can almost see one of those, and it should come up here just in a moment right there. See a little tendril kind of rotating around that, and there's another little finger that kind of comes off of this tornado there. And what you've got an incredible amount of shear around the outer edges here of this tornado because you've got upward motion coming in these updrafts around the tornado, and so that's creating a little bit of shear there. So you're getting these little horizontal vortex tubes, and you can see those in these clouds and kind of get wrapped up there again in the circulation. And then right there, that clear slot, that's what we call the RFD, the rear flank downdraft ray, and that's potentially what we think is one of those ingredients that you need when you have these supercells to really get the tornadoes going there.
Yeah, it looks something more like out of springtime than it does in December. Not unprecedented, though. Our special coverage is going to be continuing our late night coverage of the tornado threat. Also have storms in eastern parts of North Carolina, none severe, but some vivid thunder and lightning out there. And we are tracking a particularly dangerous situation right now. Severe storms push east. An ongoing tornado outbreak is in play already. Reports of more than a dozen tornadoes in several states, and now 6 confirmed deaths from Mississippi to Tennessee and as far north as Illinois. And still over 8 million people under some sort of tornado watch or warning, with torcons of 7 and 8 in many cities and a 6 in Nashville. As you can see, a bunch of red out there. And severe storm mode we will be in all night as necessary, as torcons range from 8 in central parts of Alabama to 6 in eastern Tennessee. So an 80 and 60% chance within a 50-mile radius of a tornado. And down in the southern parts of Mississippi and the western panhandle of Florida, a 5 out of 10, a 50% chance of seeing a tornado within a 50-mile radius. So even further south, the chances for tornadoes is pretty high, especially for this time of year. Well, welcome back to Weather Center Live. I'm meteorologist Ray Stajic. And if you're just tuning in, we've had a very destructive day unfold, and we're in for a pretty dangerous night as severe weather is continuing to roll. We've got a bunch of tornado watches, a couple of warnings out there, and then even some breaking news now, unfortunately, out of Tennessee. The Tennessee Department of Health has confirmed a man and a woman have died in Perry County, Tennessee. This, as the Tennessee Emergency Management Office reports, storms are still impacting Middle Tennessee at this hour. We will talk to a spokesperson from Tennessee EMA later in this hour. So unfortunately, the death toll is now 6 and the storms keep rolling. Let's show you where the action is right now. Tornado watches in effect. Central parts of Alabama, further southwest too. This is an area now that may get going until 4 o'clock in the morning. This is when we do have the tornado watch in effect. So tornadic storms possible in and around the watch area. Further toward the north, tornado watch is still in effect in parts of Tennessee. But as we get into central Kentucky and south central parts of Ohio, severe thunderstorm watches, meaning that we've got the chance for severe weather there. Well, let's go to the latest, one of the best in the business, storm expert Carl Parker with the latest.
All right, Ray, thank you so much. And we are watching this line very carefully now in western parts of Alabama and eastern parts of Mississippi. There is a warning now right along the state line, and we think that this line may become more energetic overnight tonight. So here is what is left of the collection of storms that produced the tornadoes in North Mississippi and southern parts of Tennessee. Right now, a flash flood warning in central parts of Tennessee. But south of that, these storms have gotten going just within the last couple of hours. There is now a severe thunderstorm warning, and what's happening here is we've got low-level winds that are coming out of the south, but just a little east of south, while you've still got winds that are off the ground coming squarely out of the southwest. And so you've got a lot of turning of the wind in the lowest levels of the atmosphere, and where storms can get going, they can tap into that change in wind speed and direction with height and then begin to rotate, and that's going to be the worry overnight tonight in Alabama and eventually into Georgia. Here's a look at the severe warning now just south of Columbus and Starkville. It's Lowndes, Noxubee County, going until 9:45. Also another cell that is just east of that, not being warned on right now. But I want you to notice here, when we look at the velocity data, there is rotation in that cell. Not yet rising to the level of a tornado warning, but there is rotation there, and that's indicative of the shear that is in the environment right now, and that will continue to be overnight tonight. Farther north, flash flood warning here, southwest of Nashville, as storms are training across the same areas. That too is going to be a worry tonight. And for now, things are quieter across a lot of Georgia. We've got a few scattered storms coming in, but the big question is what's going to be happening overnight and tomorrow morning. So here's the model forecast. Notice I've put the winds in here. You can sort of see them. These are 850 winds, as we call them, about 5,000 feet. Very strong winds, supportive of rotating storms and possible tornadoes. This is the line that we think is going to become more energetic. Now, as we take this through into midnight tonight, and then beyond that, you notice these cells become a little more active. That's 2 o'clock in the morning as it comes through Birmingham as well as Huntsville. So you need to have a way to be notified of severe weather, whether it's a weather radio or your cell phone or something like that. You need to have a way to be notified because these storms could possibly be tornadic as they come through central Alabama. And then we're going to watch that line come over into northwest Georgia. Some cells coming into the Atlanta metro as well tomorrow morning. These two could possibly be tornadic in some cases. So we've got a lot to pay attention to here over the next 12 to 18 hours. Still fairly active well to the north as well. And here's Sarah with more on that.
Yeah, thanks, Carl. The good news is, as you're taking a look at these northern storms, the tornado threat is a little bit diminished now as we've gone into the overnight and evening hours, and we still have a lot of strong forcing there, which is why we do still have some strong thunderstorms in effect, warnings in effect. But the good news is we don't have any tornado warnings. Let's take a look at this. You can see this strong upper level low that's getting kicked off to the north and east, and we've got all of this convection out ahead of it. So let's take a look at what's happened so far today. You can see as we've moved on to the north, this is largely largely been a wind event today. We've had winds of 63 miles per hour in Alton, Kentucky earlier today, and also in Benton, Kentucky, we had a wind gust of 75 miles per hour. So that just lets you know that these straight line winds certainly have done a lot of damage today, in addition to those tornadoes. And even underneath the upper low there, we've even gotten a few thunderstorms to pop there in some of that cooler air due to all that strong lift. But let's take a look at what's ongoing now. You can see the only severe thunderstorm warning we have right now is in eastern Ohio, and we're going to quickly look at these storms that were in southern Kentucky. Some of these were a little bit isolated. Some had a little bit of rotation on them there. The good news is those have started to weaken and sort of push off to the east and diminish there, and what we do have is still trying to conform into a line. Here just along I-64 in Moorhead, Kentucky, you've got a strong line of thunderstorms pushing through your area, potentially 50 to 60 mile per hour wind gusts with some of those, but they mostly should be sub-severe there. So right now, the only warning that we have here in Ohio is just to the north of Interstate 70 for Coshocton and Guernsey counties until 10:45 Eastern time. And notice Pittsburgh is out here to the east, so let's time that out really quickly to the Pittsburgh area. Around Cadiz by 10:54 Eastern time, Weirton by 11:18, Moon 11:39, and Steubenville around 11:15. Ray, so we're going to be watching this closely to see if this does make it to the Pittsburgh area, but it's got a while to go.
Yeah, it does. And the good news is at least the intensity of some of the storms to the north a little bit less, a little less widespread. But it's down in the south now where it looks like things may be starting to heat up. And who better to go to the Storm Prediction Center out of Norman, Oklahoma. And Rich Thompson, he's with us now live in Norman. And Rich, there's some theories that maybe that tornado earlier today in Mississippi could have traveled 100 miles. What have you heard about that?
Well, we don't know any specific details. That's going to depend on ground surveys, which I'm sure will begin tomorrow with daylight. That's under the area covered by the Memphis National Weather Service Forecast Office. But looking at the storm environment and some of the radar information, comparing to a whole bunch of other cases from across the country in the last 5 or 6 years, looks like a pretty high probability that storm did produce damage fairly continuously for potentially a 100-mile track. Again, that's not to say that it was one single tornado, but it looks relatively continuous, and potentially, if anything was encountered, you know, the radar signatures and the storm environment look supportive of potentially a tornado capable of doing maybe EF3 or even EF4 type damage, at least comparing it to historical cases.
Yeah, it certainly looked like that. And now it looks like all the focus is starting to shift a little bit further south. Saw a mezzo about potentially extending the tornado watch maybe in central Alabama, and maybe starting to see some of those storms go in Alabama, possibly northwest Georgia. What can you tell us about that?
Well, it looks like, as you guys had mentioned a few minutes ago, a lot of the storms from north to south have been slowly weakening, and we're running out of real estate that's as moist and unstable as it was further west earlier in the evening. However, we have this, we're a little concerned with this kind of broken band of storms that runs from roughly north of Meridian, Mississippi up into north central Alabama. There are some weak supercell signatures in that band, and given that the warm sector and the warm, moist air, dew points well into the 60s and surface temperatures near 70, continue to push northeast further into Alabama. We think there's still a chance you might have a tornado or two with some of that activity continuing for the next several hours.
All right, Rich, that's Rich Thompson right from the Storm Prediction Center. So our focus will now go into Alabama, maybe northwest Georgia overnight, but still some stronger storms north. And we're going to stay with you as live severe weather coverage continues of the tornado threat as it remains active in the south. Looks like Nashville, Tennessee. And welcome back for continuing live severe weather coverage as we're down in Alabama, where we have one warning now crossing the border. It's a severe thunderstorm warning, and that's coming across the Mississippi-Alabama border. Off to the east, though, an area we are watching includes northwest Georgia and the Atlanta metro area. For now, it's just general showers and thunder showers, a little bit of thunder and lightning, but a flash flood watch in effect, too, so we'll have to watch for the heavy rain threat. Further off toward the north and east, none of these storms severe at this point, but there's been a bunch of rainfall in North and South Carolina over the past couple of days. A flash flood watch stays in effect, and water saturated grounds. It's not going to take much for any flash flooding to occur once again. All right, let's take a look now at some damage from some of these storms, and this comes in near Sardis, Mississippi. I hope I said that right. Tornado damage And this damage here looks like a building there that's got part of its roof ripped off, and another building there in the foreground that may have been blown down, the insulation thrown all over the place. So this is what we have here. We've got tornado damage in Mississippi. We've got reports of damage in parts of Tennessee. And now some of those storms may be starting to fire as we get into parts of Alabama. Well, we're going to follow up on some breaking news we told you about earlier this hour. The Tennessee Department of Health has confirmed a man and a woman have died in Perry County, Tennessee. This, as the Tennessee Emergency Management Office reports, storms are still impacting Middle Tennessee at this hour. Well, joining us now live on the phone is Dean Fleener with the Tennessee Emergency Management. Dean, can you clarify for us the circumstances of the fatality reports?
Well, we're just heartbroken that we have to report we have 2 confirmed fatalities in Perry County, a male and a female. We don't have any more details on what exactly happened to them. It's hard to lose people any time of the year, but especially at the holidays. And our thoughts just go out to their family and friends. And we hope that if, people are home safe tonight and with their families, and we're certainly thinking about our neighbors too down in Mississippi and Alabama, because Mississippi got really hit hard this evening too.
Yeah, and I have to assume that this was most likely wind damage. And what were they saying? What are the reports coming out of the area? Anybody reporting anything? Anybody report seeing a tornado?
Well, we've got reports of isolated damage. We don't have any reports of widespread damage. We had a couple of spotters who confirmed or who reported that they were seeing, touchdowns on the ground. Of course, we'll have to wait till tomorrow for the National Weather Service to get out and do a complete assessment. We've had a lot of straight line winds, a lot of heavy rain, a lot of wind going on. So we continue just to monitor the situation because the storm system is just on kind of the eastern edge of Middle Tennessee, about to approach our plateau counties and move into East Tennessee. So we continue to monitor the situation.
All right. Well, Dean, we appreciate that. And that's Dean Fleener with the Tennessee Emergency Management, unfortunately reporting that 2 fatalities now reported in Tennessee, bringing now this tornado outbreak total to 6, along with all the damage. So unfortunately, right before the holiday, we've got those reports coming on in. And there's more severe weather to come. We'll go to our storm specialist now, Carl Parker, for the latest. Carl?
Well, Ray, the linchpin in all this is that it's been unusually warm and unusually humid and way to the north for this time of the year. Of course, we have had a lot of big winter outbreaks in the past. In fact, just last year, we had severe storms in Mississippi on December 23rd. So it's certainly not unprecedented, but it is unusual to have a moderate risk of severe weather and a severe weather outbreak so deep into the cold season. And here's a look at what an outbreak looks like. This is all of the reports, approaching nearly 200 wind reports on the day today, indicated by those little blue circles, wind reports, and also trees down, a lot of hail reports as well, especially up there into the Ohio Valley. And then to the south, you see those red dots, and those are the tornado reports. And this was the storm, the parent storm that was that came right across North Mississippi, a very long track over 100 miles per hour. It may have actually been the same tornado, or at least close to that, and could have actually been a family of tornadoes, but we do know it was the same parent storm that dropped perhaps 1 or more tornadoes, and that was the storm that caused all of that damage. Now, we're not out of the woods yet. We may see additional development here in Alabama. We're going to talk more about that on the other side of the break.
All right, we've got a live picture here out of Walnut, Mississippi, of some of the damage. Not going to say confirmed tornado, but it certainly looks like some pretty strong winds there producing damage. I can't tell what that structure is, but it certainly looks like some kind of storage building here. Kelly Williamson, live here in Walnut, Mississippi. Kelly, is this where you are? Can you tell us exactly what we're looking at?
This was a house. Oh, this is was it a shop building? It was a. They come and work on stuff. Yes, it was a shop building.
Okay, so a shop building, and what we're looking at there is contents of that building. Any reports of any injuries or anything like that?
No, not here. There wasn't anybody hurt. On the other side of the road, we know of 1 fatality.
Okay, so reporting maybe that happening, and then What are you seeing in and around the area? I mean, is this just a localized area where we're seeing this kind of damage, or is this widespread across the region?
This is widespread. Just everywhere we went. I'm not really sure how wide it was. It just seems like everywhere you go, there's damage. It had to be, I'd say, at least a mile wide. It was big, and I know it was on the ground for a long time. We watched it from all the way when it set down on this side of the Mississippi River, and it looked like it just stayed on the ground the whole time.
Hey, Kelly, can you confirm for us about what time was that, about how long ago?
That's going to be hard for me to say. Today's been a long day. I'm not really sure exactly what time it happened.
Okay. And right now, people look like they're out there. What can you tell us about, maybe how many structures damaged in the area, and what's the latest on at least, any of the numbers you have in terms of, structures potentially damaged?
I've talked to a lot of firemen. Everybody's so busy in that. It's unreal. I've got a guy standing right here beside me that was here when it happened, if you'd like to speak to him.
Well, right now, Kelly, we're looking at some of the storms now. It looks like they're pushing east of Mississippi, so it seems like at least in Walnut, you're probably out of the woods right now. But is the plan to just stay hunkered down there and then just assess in the morning?
Yes, we're going to go back to the room, and then we're going to come out at first daylight and try and assess the damage, and we'll know a little bit more then how much was damaged and kind of how long it was on the ground.
Yeah, Kelly, you said you had a gentleman there with you. Can you tell us a little? Can he tell us a little bit more about what's been going on?
Yes, just a second. I'll let you talk to him.
Just over 5 Central Time.
Hello.
Hey, good evening. Who are we speaking with?
Wayne Wilburn.
Wayne Wilburn. Yeah, we were wondering if you could give us more information about what we're looking at here. What kind of structure did we have, and can you give us more insight on the storms that came through the area?
Well, if you're talking about the structure that's in front of this vehicle here, that was an old store building. Of course, it's all gone, and the house beside it is gone, and
yeah, did you happen to see what caused the damage? I mean, did you see a tornado or a funnel cloud, or?
I did not see it. I could hear the loud roar for 2 or 3 minutes before it even hit. And then when I eventually took shelter, it was trees were starting to fall and leaning real bad. And I took shelter, and it was gone then, and within 45 seconds to a minute and a half, somewhere in there. It didn't take long.
All right. Well, that's some of the latest reports. Thank you for that report. And thank you also to Kelly Williamson for giving the latest updates. Carl, we do have some more severe storms expected. What's the latest?
Yeah, Ray, the really big question is just how energetic are these storms going to get tonight? There's still a lot of shear in the atmosphere. The upper level forcing that helped to trigger all this severe weather is beginning to move away from the region. So that's one thing that's being subtracted from the equation. But we still have very strong shear. There are still very strong low level winds. There's still a fair amount of instability. So we may yet see more tornadoes in the overnight and then even tomorrow morning. And so here's a look at the current radar picture, which is fairly calm compared to what we saw earlier today. There's a flash flood warning up there in central parts of Tennessee because of training storms. But this is the line that we're really concerned about, and we are seeing some indications of rotation within that line. That's not at all surprising considering what's going on with the environment. Again, there's still a lot of wind shear. Notice how there's a little appendage here on the southwest side of the cell. It's not a terribly well organized cell. It's not the strongest thunderstorm we've ever seen, but we are seeing some indication of rotation within that. And again, that's indicative of what's going on in the environment as a whole. And so the big question is, what is that going to mean for tonight and tomorrow? And we'll tell you more about that coming up.
Look how big that dude is. Oh my gosh.
Our deadly tornado outbreak may not be over just yet. This is a live look out of Walnut, Mississippi of some of the damage here. Looks like the roof torn off there. Potentially a tornado. That was around 5 p.m. local time, and reports of damage coming in not only out of Mississippi, but also out of Alabama and even on into Tennessee now, too. Storms heading into the southeastern U.S. and certainly an area we are going to continue to monitor for more severe weather. As you can see here, we're looking in Walnut, Mississippi of one of the places that did see damage. You can see some debris thrown all over the ground here and some of these small trees down, and certainly the roof damage there. Well, welcome back. It's Weather Center Live. We're continuing our storm coverage. Constant updates coming in all night as necessary. Have a plan, please. If you are going to be anywhere out across the U.S. Traveling, you're going to want to know where you are, how you're going to get your warnings, and how you're going to keep yourself safe. Be prepared. I'm meteorologist Ray Stajik, and today's tornado threat now maybe one of the highest of the year, and it rolls on into the evening hours. This is one shot out of Batesville, Mississippi, a massive tornado here earlier today, a tracker capturing this video. This is why we are on live with you tonight. The threat for tornadoes is not over despite this late night hour, so you're going to have to be prepared for yourself and for your family here out across central, west central parts of Alabama, where this tornado watch is in effect until 4 o'clock this morning. The watch meaning that tornadoes are possible in and around the watch area, and then further up the chain here as you get into central Tennessee and Nashville, that watch expires at 11. Further north, Lexington, you're in a severe thunderstorm watch, and now it looks like that watch in Ohio has been allowed to expire here at 11 o'clock. So severe storms firing, and our storm specialist, Carl Parker, he's here with us to give us the latest. Carl?
Well, Ray, quite a day today, and the linchpin in all this is that we had warm and humid air, unusually warm and humid air, well to the north to feed into the system, and so a wide array of reports all across the Ohio Valley and the Mid-South. This is a look at those severe weather reports today. Nearly 200 reports of strong winds or wind damage from the middle Mississippi Valley through the Ohio Valley and down into the south, and you see those red dots at the bottom of your screen. Those are the significant tornadoes that came through North Mississippi. Could have actually been one tornado, the very long path length here. This is what we mean by long track tornadoes. Could also have been a couple of tornadoes, but certainly it was the same parent storm, and that was the storm that caused all of that damage across northwest Mississippi earlier today. Well, those storms have gone up into central Tennessee. They've weakened considerably, just a flash flood warning there now, but there is still concern about the possibility of severe weather overnight tonight. We're watching these storms very carefully in northwest Alabama and down into Mississippi. There's still a lot of shear in the atmosphere, which is to say we've got low-level winds that are coming out of the south or maybe just a little east of south, and then winds at about 5,000 feet coming out of the southwest. So there's a lot of turning of the wind with height, and the winds get a lot faster as you go up about a mile up in the atmosphere. There's still a lot of shear, so where storms can form, they can tap into that and begin to rotate. And in fact, we've already seen some evidence of that, even with these more modest storms. This one right here showing a little bit of a curly Q shape right there, kind of a backward C shape, indicating, or rather more like a C shape, I should say, kind of like a kidney bean, indicating that there is some rotation in that cell right in there. It's not a very strong cell, but if they manage to get a little bit stronger, then we could be talking about some rotating storms developing overnight tonight, seeing, again, some evidence of that rotation there. So here's a look at what's going on farther east. It's pretty quiet right now in northern parts of Georgia. Some storms popping up in southeast Alabama, and the big question is what exactly is going to happen overnight tonight. So you've still got this very strong low-level jet, and some of our models indicating that this line of storms could become more energetic overnight tonight. So you want to be on your toes there in Alabama. Look at that, 2:30 in the morning, looking at possibly some discrete cells here with some potential for tornadoes and certainly potential for damaging winds. And then we take that forward into the early morning hours. They move over into Tennessee to northwest Georgia, and storms then coming into the Atlanta metro as well. And still, Sarah, some potential for tornadoes even tomorrow morning in North Georgia. It's going to be a very interesting start to Christmas Eve. Over to you.
Yeah, it certainly is. I'm actually going to be heading home, so I'm going to have to be dodging some of those storms in the morning myself. Well, let's take a look off up to the north. We know in the north we had plenty of lift, which is one of those ingredients that we need for severe thunderstorms. We use that acronym SLIM. slim. I'm trying to forget what is shear? Shear. It's been a long day.
Lift.
Sorry. Shear, lift, instability, and moisture. And with this upper level low that we had an incredible amount of lift. So that lift that we were having was kind of balancing out or counterbalancing the fact that we lacked a little bit of instability here in these northern locations. And we see that we did have a lot of wind reports, as much as 65 to 75 mile per hour wind reports here. So let's take a look. This is where the surface low is now. You're even getting some snow there on the backside of this system. But there's your cold front, about right there. So you notice, I mean, it's a little bit cooler behind this line, about 56 degrees in Indianapolis and 55 there in Chicago, but a little bit cooler there as you get behind that actual cold front. But still 61 in Pittsburgh, so there's still a little bit of energy to work with, but by and large, the instability is pretty low up here, but the fact that we have so much lift, we're still able to get a few thunderstorms. The last warning that we had here in eastern Ohio, that has been allowed to expire. Still about 40 mile per hour winds that could be possible with this, is certainly along Interstate 70 there as you're going from Cambridge to Wheeling and Pittsburgh. Be on the lookout, because within the next hour to 2 hours, you could be getting some strong gusty winds there in your area. One severe thunderstorm warning here in southeastern Ohio for Athens and Meigs counties until 11:45 Eastern time. Parkersburg, West Virginia, that could be headed your direction, potentially 45 to 50 mile per hour wind gusts along with that. And here in Kentucky, we have one thunderstorm that has popped up here, one severe thunderstorm that is in effect for Adair and Casey counties until 10:30 Central time. And really quickly, we want to time these out for you. So Pittsburgh, you see that you are in the path to get these storms by around midnight to 1 a.m. Central time. And take a look at this. We're going to continue to push off to the east. So D.C., New York, Ray, they could be getting in on the storms by tomorrow morning.
Yeah, certainly. It's a pretty busy day, pretty busy night, and it looks like more of those storms heading on off toward the east and north. So some of the big cities may be impacted. Well, we want to take a moment to update you now on fatalities and the reports that have been coming in during this severe weather outbreak. The Tennessee Department of Health has recently confirmed a man and a woman have died in Perry County, Tennessee. So far, very little information has been released in that investigation. Moving on into Mississippi, authorities say a man and a woman have died in Benton County, and about a half an hour west in Marshall County, Mississippi, 7-year-old boy has also died in a vehicle that was on a local highway in Arkansas, about 70 miles northwest of Little Rock. A tree fell on a home, killing an 18-year-old woman. Rescues were able to save a toddler who was also trapped under a tree. Sadly, the death toll during this severe weather outbreak is now at 6. So not only have we had severe weather, we've got more, and we're going to take a look at our future radar to show you what is expected as we head through the remainder of the nighttime hours and into the morning. As I don't think we're out of this yet. We do have a severe thunderstorm watch. It's in parts of Kentucky, and we also have a tornado watch, and that tornado watch is out across the southeast and into parts of Alabama and Georgia. So as you can see, we are seeing the radar is showing us the showers, the thunder showers, and they're going to continue through 3 o'clock this morning, possibly getting into parts of Alabama and even Georgia. And these storms, once again, could be severe as we go through the early morning hours. And then by 8 o'clock in the morning, look at this thin line of storms potentially coming through northwest Georgia around Rome, possibly around Birmingham. So there is a threat, maybe even for the commute if you are working on Christmas Eve, that there may be some stronger storms. And then as we go through the day, by 4 o'clock in the evening, you can see how the storms are slowly pushing south. And this front may actually hang up here, and we may see on again, off again showers and thunderstorms through the day tomorrow. Now, the intensity of the storms most likely is going to be diminishing a little bit, but we will have that threat for showers and thunderstorms continuing as we go through the afternoon hours on Christmas Eve. So if you are going to be traveling out and about, please take it easy on the roadways, as we will continue to see that threat for the rain and thunderstorms through the early morning hours. And then we are looking at more thunderstorms as we get into the evening. All right, let's take a look live now at New Orleans and Atlanta. And we are looking live here with flash flood watches in effect for Atlanta, but both of these cities could face some heavy rain and flooding until at least Friday. So the flood watch is up and the rain's going to be coming down, and each of these places could see some significant rainfall. Some big storms yesterday out in New Orleans, but that's not stopping people from getting out and about right now. And in Atlanta, the low clouds starting to thicken up, and you've already had rain. There's more rain in the area, and we could continue to see that rainfall as we head on through not only the daytime hours today, but also as we head on through the nighttime hours tonight. So the heavy rainfall is a threat, and in places like Atlanta, area. We are going to continue to see some of these storms come in through the nighttime hours tonight, as I said, and thunderstorms and temperatures in the balmy 70s. I mean, even through the early morning hours, it's going to be like 68 degrees, and some of these storms, as we head on through the morning, could be strong, potentially severe, and then heavy rainfall also a threat. Up through Indianapolis, looks like you're getting out of the worst of it now, and through the early morning hours, it looks like temperatures are going to cool off a bit. Looks like the front is through, and as that front continues to push on through, we'll see the cooler, drier weather come in, and then we'll see our focus shift further north. Probably not severe for New York City, but as we go through Christmas Eve, you're kind of hit and miss on the showers and thunderstorms, but that's a record. The old record will be by tomorrow, 63 degrees, 72 the forecast high. Friday, cloudy, 64 for Christmas Day, and a chance of showers as we look ahead towards Saturday, as we are watching not only that, but this flood watch threat down across the southeastern U.S. And one place under that watch is Atlanta, Georgia, and this is where we could see some of these stronger storms roll on in. Stay tuned.
There's about 10, 15 houses totally gone. They're totally gone. Please respond to Bellevue area. Repeat, please respond to the Bellevue area for assistance on tornado destruction. At this time, we have 2 walking wounded. We have 1 critical and 1 with minor injuries.
Wow, now for a moment of raw reaction. First responders at the Coahoma County, Mississippi Fire Department arrive upon the devastation left behind by tonight's severe weather. All while it's being recorded by their radio communication system. Despite their community being torn apart, these authorities must remain calm, organized, and ready to do what their jobs call for. Well, right now outside a window, this was taken outside from a woman who was looking out her driver's side window, and you can see that tornado faintly there right at the center top of the screen out in northwest Mississippi near Clarksdale. And right now you can see that off in the distance, but really not well defined. This is what was happening all across parts of Mississippi, and now even on getting into potentially Alabama. No tornado warnings, but severe thunderstorms possible, and even tornadoes in and around this tornado watch, which is in effect until 4 o'clock in the morning. Further north, tornado watch remains in effect for Nashville. That should be expiring here locally in the next few minutes at top of the hour. Then expiring at 3 a.m. Eastern time, a severe thunderstorm watch. Lexington, if you're not in it, you're pretty darn close. And the watches mean that severe weather is possible in and around the watch areas, whether it's a tornado watch or a severe thunderstorm watch. And for more on the watches, the warnings, where they are and where they could potentially go, here's our storm specialist, Carl Parker. Carl?
All right, Ray, so we've still got a threat overnight tonight for severe weather that will continue even into tomorrow morning. Could be a pretty interesting morning in the Atlanta metro, and we're going to talk about that threat coming up here in a moment. First, I want to look back and show you what happened earlier today, and each one of these red dots is a tornado report. And so many of those tornado reports may have been just one tornado or maybe a couple of tornadoes from one parent storm, and that parent storm well over 100 miles per hour, covering a path length of well over 100 miles. So a huge area affected by this particular storm, possibly one tornado, maybe more than one tornado, but certainly a family related to one storm. And this is what we mean by long track tornadoes. That was the threat today, with the very strong wind shear in the atmosphere and the instability that was unusually high for this time of the year. Now, that big collection of storms has settled down. It's gone up here in the central parts of Tennessee. There is a flash flood warning there, but otherwise things have quieted down in Tennessee. But we're watching this line of storms that's trying to get going in parts of northwestern Alabama, and there is now, in fact, a severe thunderstorm warning in the Huntsville metro area. These storms have been moving very quickly off to the northeast. That's Limestone, Madison counties under warning right now, and the movement on this cell is now northeast at about 50 miles per hour. That's what we've been watching all along with these particular storms. So really, really moving quickly, damaging wind, the threat on the north and northwest side of the Huntsville metro area. and that'll come up into Tennessee. And then farther south, been looking at these cells, which are not terribly strong, but you see how there's a little bit of a kink right in there, a little bit of sort of an L shape right there. That's a storm that is rotating somewhat, not that much, but somewhat. And so it's responding to this atmosphere in which we've still got a lot of wind shear. Winds are coming out of the south at the surface, but they're coming out of the southwest at about a mile up in the atmosphere, and they're much, much faster, 50 to 60 miles per hour. And when the winds change direction and speed like that over a relatively short vertical distance, that's when you run the risk of getting rotating storms, and that's going to continue into the night tonight. Atlanta Metro got a couple of cells coming up on the south side of town right now. Otherwise fairly quiet. May not be that way tomorrow morning. And there's a look at a big collection of storms in southeastern Alabama. Now, this is the model forecast. This is the area we're concerned about. This is our high-resolution model, the HRRR model, HRRR model, and it's showing that you've still got these very strong low-level winds going into the overnight hours, and so it shows some discrete cells, as we call them, developing with some potential for tornadoes coming through Alabama and Tennessee and eventually into North Georgia. We'll talk more about that coming up in a moment. Ray, over to you.
All right, Carl, thanks a lot. And Storm Prediction Center puts the enhanced risk in extreme northwest Georgia. And we'll continue to cover our special coverage of tonight's late-night tornado threat continues. The radar showing no severe storms, just a tornado warning that just popped up west of Cookeville. We are tracking a potentially dangerous situation right now as severe storms push on off toward the east. An ongoing tornado outbreak is in play. Already reports of more than a dozen tornadoes in several states, and now 6 confirmed deaths from Mississippi to Tennessee and as far north as Illinois. And still over 8 million people under some sort of tornado watch or warning, with torcons of 7 and 8 in many cities and a 6 in Nashville and in eastern Tennessee. So severe weather will continue to threaten even along the Gulf Coast, Mississippi, southern Alabama, western Florida Panhandle. 50% chance of a tornado within a 50-mile radius. Well, we are in severe storm mode as we head on through the nighttime hours tonight. Welcome back to Weather Center Live. I'm meteorologist Ray Stajic, and if you're just tuning in, we've had a very destructive day unfold. And we're in it for a dangerous night also, as severe thunderstorm watches and tornado watches are up. This one until 4 o'clock includes Birmingham and points west and north, and Cullman and Huntsville for the potential for severe storms, which may be tornadic in and around the watch area. And then further north, most of the watches now beginning to drop off. At the top of the hour, Nashville, you'll be dropped out of that tornado watch, I believe. And the one in central, south central Kentucky, just east of Bowling Green, expires, looks like at 3 a.m. in the morning. So showers, thunder showers will continue to roll through, and we'll continue to watch these storms as we head through the morning and on into the afternoon hours. Even on Christmas Eve, too, you can see during the early morning hours, some of these storms will continue to roll on off toward the south and east. And we have team coverage from the best storm specialists on TV. Sarah Dillingham is with us in the lab, but first we're going to begin with storm specialist Carl Parker. Carl, what's the latest?
Well, Ray, there is a tornado warning right now in central parts of Tennessee, and we'll take a look at that. For the most part, things have calmed down as compared to what we saw earlier today. You'd expect that. We tend to find the most active period is late in the afternoon and through the early evening hours, generally speaking, but we've still got a lot of very strong wind in the atmosphere, and along with that wind, there's wind shear. There's wind moving at different speeds and different directions at different altitudes, and for that reason there is still going to be a tornado threat even overnight and even tomorrow morning. So right now 4 different warnings to tell you about. A couple of severe warnings near Huntsville, then you've got a flash flood warning there south of Nashville. Here is the new tornado warning that is east of Nashville, and there's a closer look at what's going on with that cell, and that is Jackson and Putnam and Smith counties. It's going until 11 p.m. The movement is northeast at 50 miles per hour. We'll take a look at the velocity data. These things are really moving along. It's not quite as impressive as it was. I'm going to step back a little bit, and you can see just before that warning was issued, there's the couplet right there. So there's the area of rotation, and then we'll follow that out next couple of scans, and not quite as well defined going out a little farther east. Doesn't mean there's not a tornado threat. It's just not as really well defined as we've seen certainly with some of the storms today. Nonetheless, a tornado threat ongoing there, and then a severe thunderstorm warning to the south. This is in northern parts of Alabama, Limestone, Madison counties, just north of Huntsville. Watch out for some damaging wind there. And then another warning now southwest of Huntsville. This is Lawrence and Morgan counties, and this is moving to the northeast about 50 miles per hour as well. Let's turn back the clock a little bit and take a look at the tornado earlier today in Clarksdale, Mississippi. And this is near Clarksdale, actually, just a large, extremely dangerous tornado. And this thing was on the ground for a very long period of time. This went on for a couple of hours, covered more than 100 miles. It may not have been the exact same tornado. Sometimes you get what's called cycling, and you'll get a different tornado coming from the same storm, but the same storm covered a huge amount of distance. It went all across North Mississippi and up into Tennessee. And again, extremely dangerous storm, and we've seen a lot of damage and even some fatalities from the storm. Unfortunately tonight, you hate to hear about that being so close to the holiday season. Our hearts going out to those folks in North Mississippi tonight. All right, well, let's take a look at what's going on farther south. There are also some cells that have popped out in west central parts of Alabama. These are not terribly strong right now. That's one of the big questions. Even though there is still a lot of wind shear, how strong are the storms going to get as they come across into Birmingham and then tomorrow morning into Atlanta? So what the high resolution model is telling us is that we've still got this very strong low level wind here. That's at about 5,000 feet. So along with that, you've got the wind shear that's necessary to produce rotating storms. The question is, are you going to get storms that are strong enough to punch up and really tap into that rotation? And the model seems to indicate that we've got some potential for discrete cells overnight in Alabama, so have a way to be notified there in Birmingham and in Huntsville if there is a warning issued for your area. And then we may watch these storms come across into northwest Georgia, southeast Tennessee, and then move over into central parts of Georgia into the early morning hours. That's 5 o'clock in the morning, so 6 o'clock in the morning. Of course, not a lot of people on the roads on Christmas Eve, but it could be a very interesting start to our Christmas Eve across North Georgia. We're going to need to watch that very closely. All right, let's see what's going on farther north right now, and here's Sarah with that.
And Carl, first, really quick, we just had a new tornado watch that has been issued. Right now, that includes Tennessee and parts of northern Alabama. That is in effect until 4 a.m. Central Time. We can take a look at where those areas are. You can see that. So this is the new warning, right? Or I'm sorry, the new tornado watch here. This includes Shelbyville, Tennessee, Crossville, Chattanooga, Tennessee, and also there in northwest Georgia. Looks like cutting off just Whitfield County, just outside there. So my friends and family out there in Dalton, you're not in it just yet, but we could see some severe storms headed that way, as Carl was saying, because this environment is still favorable for tornadoes to develop even into the overnight hours. Let's take a look off to the north now. What we lacked in instability here to the north, we certainly made up for in the amount of lift. Look at the amount of rain and showers and thunderstorms that were generated out of this. So we just know that we have a lot of area of ascent out here, a large area of lift here in the atmosphere as that trough has been approaching and continues to push very rapidly off to the north and east. And the temperature still out ahead of it. 61 degrees still in Pittsburgh right now, 64 degrees in New York. No, it's not March, it's December. So we can just see the amount of warm, moist air that we had out ahead of this to really get those thunderstorms going. Good news is all those severe warnings have dropped for the Ohio thunderstorms, probably just some rumbles of thunder, but we still could have some strong winds with these, potentially sub-severe, but still 40 to 50 miles per hour possibly nonetheless. And Pittsburgh, you are in the path of some of those storms potentially. Parkersburg, West Virginia, that line just came through your area. It weakened a good bit as it came through, but probably still some gusty winds you experienced. We do have two isolated storms here in eastern Kentucky. This one is for Casey and Lincoln counties. Severe thunderstorm warning in effect until midnight local time. And then this one other storm here to to the south and west, just to the east of Columbia. That severe warning is in effect for Adair and Russell County until 11 Central Time. And we want to take a look at the velocities on these to see if we do have any kind of a couplet. This one looked a little bit better a few moments ago. Sort of see that counterclockwise rotation there, but right now that is starting to weaken, has become very broad. So that is some good news for those of you in Waynesburg. And this one is a little bit of convergence there on the leading edge of this storm, but ultimately that has kind of gusted out and doesn't really seem to be wrapping up again. But we'll continue to monitor those storms as we go throughout the remainder of the evening. So take a look, Pittsburgh, you're going to be getting those storms here in a little bit. So some rumbles of thunder keeping you awake late tonight around 2 to 3 a.m. and about 4 a.m. Central Time, 5 a.m. Eastern Time. You can see this line kind of extending into West Virginia and also into Eastern Tennessee. And by the time you wake up in tomorrow morning, Washington, D.C., New York, Philadelphia, you could be seeing some rain. In New York, it looks like you might stay a little bit on the dry side, but still going to be a messy morning there if you're having some last-minute travel plans there for the Christmas holiday. Maybe you want to leave early, and there may be some issues leaving there at the airports with some airport delays out there. So we're going to be watching that, so keep it tuned here in the Weather Channel. We'll have all the updates in the morning, and we'll continue to maybe see some thunderstorms fire again in the Carolinas. And Ray, we're still going to have that severe potential for tomorrow. Still some isolated chances of tornadoes, but damaging winds seem to be the larger threat tomorrow.
All right, Sarah, thank you very much. And yeah, and with the rainfall coming in too, I mean, these are areas that are saturated. Atlanta's seen over 60 inches of rainfall this year. Auburn, Alabama, you've had your share of rainfall. There it is right now. It looks like it's raining as we speak. And we're going to stay with you with severe weather coverage as needed as the tornado threat continues out across parts of the South.
There's a tornado in front of us.
Settle down.
I'm trying to figure out which way we need to move. We've pulled over. I mean, it's a big tornado in front of us. We're north of Tutwiler.
Yeah, and you can hear the raw emotion in that woman's voice in Tutwiler as she apparently calls for help, or at least points out there's other people in the car that are in the midst of this potentially deadly situation. And as you can see, I mean, right in front of me, it's got to be quite a few miles out ahead of them, though, but clearly defined there, funnel cloud and even twin tornadoes we can see here. Looks like they're reaching the ground, and some pretty impressive video coming out of Tutwiler, Mississippi. This is what it looks to be, these twin tornadoes, and it looks like they're in an open field right now, and unfortunately we've had reports of fatalities. Hopefully these two twin tornadoes, what it looks like right there, hopefully these two weren't responsible. But we do want to update you on the latest information that we have. This is what we have as of just a few minutes ago. The fatality reports we received from the severe weather outbreak: 2 fatalities in Tennessee. In Mississippi, we had the reports of 3 fatalities. And so far, very little information has been released in the investigation in Tennessee. And in the Mississippi, the authorities say that a man and a woman have died in Benton County, and about a half an hour to the west of Marshall County, Mississippi, a 7-year-old boy has also died in a vehicle that was on a local highway. In Arkansas, about 70 miles northwest of Little Rock, Arkansas, a tree fell on a home, killing an 18-year-old woman. Rescuers were able to save the toddler, who was also trapped under the tree. Sadly, the death toll during this severe weather outbreak is now at 6. So, big-time storms producing some tornadoes. We've got Sarah Dillingham with us now, storm specialist, with the latest. Sarah?
Yeah, Ray. Well, the good news is, for large in part, we've had a lot of these warnings drop, have things starting to quieten down a little bit, but now we've started to see things pick back up a little bit, and the environment is still favorable for tornadoes potentially here in the southeast. So let's take a look right now. We just brought this to you here just a few moments ago. We want to update you again. This is a new tornado watch that has been issued for northern Alabama and eastern Tennessee, in effect until 4 a.m. Central Time, 5 a.m. Eastern Time. That does include the cities of Chattanooga, Shelbyville, Tennessee, Nashville. You are out of that, so that is good news. But Huntsville, you're in it, and you even have some severe thunderstorms off to your north. We're going to show you here in just a moment. Birmingham, you're still in a tornado watch until 4 a.m. local time, and also that includes Tuscaloosa. And the Storm Prediction Center right now, they're still discussing whether or not to continue this watch off to the east, so we'll bring that to you as soon as we hear anything from that. So let's take a look at the storms that we have out now. You see a few warnings here in eastern Kentucky, and also this tornado warning here in northern Tennessee, and then these 2 severe thunderstorm warnings here in northern Alabama. Let's take you and update you on this tornado warning first. This is east of the Nashville area. You see just north of Interstate 40 here, north of Cookeville, Tennessee, and this is for Jackson and Putnam County. Tornado warning in effect until 11 p.m. local time. And right now this is becoming a little bit more stretched out, so we've seen this rotation weaken a bit as we've gone throughout the last 15 to 20 minutes or so. You can see it's really strung out now, so that's good news. It looked like it had a decent couplet there, but right after the warning came out, it really started to weaken pretty quickly out of that. So let's take a look off to the south and take a look. Now, we did just have a severe thunderstorm warning drop off here north of Huntsville. That is some good news, but take a look over here to the north, just south of Decatur, actually, another severe thunderstorm warning in effect for Morgan County. These storms have tried to rotate. The environment is still very favorable down here, as there's a lot of shear here still in place in the environment for these storms to really do something. And you're looking at this video from earlier near Tutwiler, Mississippi. You can see even twin tornadoes here, and this was earlier this afternoon. We did see some other photos of this I did on social media, and you know, this environment, Ray, was just extremely charged. I mean, we had some large tornadoes, one potentially as wide as 3/4 to a mile wide, some people estimated. Now, you know, we've seen twin tornadoes before. You might remember the Pilger tornado event back in 2014, in June 2014. But here, you know, we could have one old mesocyclone that is actually cycling out, and then a new tornado forming there. But you've got these 2 circulations very, very close together, Ray. So it's, you know, it's amazing what we can see with cell phones and social media right now. It's just incredible that we can get these images and get these warnings out to people.
Yeah, it certainly is. Just amazing. I mean, I really got this feel like we're in the springtime, but we're not. We're in December, and our special coverage of this December late-night tornado threat is going to be continuing. We're going to have coverage of not only the watches, but any of the warnings that come out here, and continuing coverage as we head on through the morning hours. Devastated structures left behind in Noblesville, Indiana. According to local reports, a tornado is to blame for what you see here. Damage, debris thrown all over the place. And we want to take you a moment to update you on the fatalities that have been coming in as our tornado outbreak continues. Now, a storm still producing damage earlier this evening, but they seem to have weakened just a bit. But the fatality reports now from this severe weather outbreak now up to 6, unfortunately. In Tennessee, the Department of Health has recently confirmed a man and a woman have died in Perry County. So far, very little information has been released in that investigation. Moving on to Mississippi, authorities say a man and a woman have died in Benton County, and that's about a half an hour west in Marshall County, and about half an hour west in Marshall County, Mississippi. A 7-year-old boy has also died in a vehicle that was on a local highway. In Arkansas, about 70 miles northwest of Little Rock, a tree has fallen on a home and killed an 18-year-old woman earlier today. Rescuers were able to save a toddler who was also trapped under a tree. Sadly, the death toll during the severe weather outbreak is now at 6. Well, severe thunderstorm watches and even a couple of warnings have been popping up here. And as we've gone through the early morning hours, or the late night hours and into the early morning, certainly there has been less coverage, but a tornado watch still in effect for parts of the southeast. And for the latest, we go to one of the best in the business, our storm specialist, Carl Parker. Carl, what's the latest?
Well, so there is still a threat for tornadoes and severe storms through the overnight and into even tomorrow morning. Still a very energetic atmosphere. There's been a lot of warm and humid air feeding into the system, so it really looked a lot more like a springtime system. And in fact, you can see from the severe weather reports, it certainly fit a springtime pattern with severe reports well to the north, well up into the lakes there. These are all the wind reports, some hail reports mixed in, but nearly 200 reports of high winds and or tree damage, mostly there through the Ohio Valley and the Mid-South. And then on the southern end of that, you see that collection of tornado reports that may have been one tornado, at least one storm that produced perhaps a few tornadoes. But you can see the very long track there from Mississippi right up and into southern parts of Tennessee, well over 100 miles. And that is what is meant by long track tornadoes. That was the worry today because the shear parameters were so high. and because we had plenty of instability. Now, we've lost a little bit of that instability. We've still got very strong shear in the atmosphere. We've lost a little bit of the lift in the atmosphere, so we're not seeing as much in the way of severe weather. But the threat is also not going to zero. It's going to be with us going through the late hours of the evening, overnight hours, I should say, and then going into tomorrow morning as well. Let's talk about some of the warnings that are in effect right now. There is a tornado warning that is well to the east of Nashville. We're not seeing a whole lot of rotation in this storm right now. That warning for Jackson and Putnam counties, that's going until 11 p.m. We'll double check that and take a look at the storm relative velocities. And yeah, seeing more of a broad area of shear here, winds are kind of coming together as opposed to a definitive sort of couplet. But also notice that there is a little bit of a bow echo that's coming across northeast Tennessee. That's Clay, Overton, and Pickett counties under warning for damaging wind. I'd be especially concerned about the possibility of damaging wind right in there where the storms are surging forward. That's near Livingston and coming into Route 111. Then well to the south of that, another severe warning to tell you about southwest of Huntsville, and certainly concerned about damaging wind in that area. And then there are more storms now into west central parts of Alabama. What we're wondering about is how energetic those are going to get overnight, because again, you've still got very strong low-level winds. So if the storms get strong enough, they can rotate, and the model's indicating that there could be some discrete cells capable of rotation even overnight tonight, and then tomorrow morning into North Georgia, parts of Tennessee, even into the Atlanta metro area. So we'll need to continue to watch this even through tomorrow morning. Ray, over to you.
All right, Carl, thanks a lot. And storm coverage is going to be continuing in the early morning hours as we'll continue to monitor the tornado threat through the overnight hours. But we'll be back live tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. Eastern on AMHQ early with the very latest. For now, we leave you with a look at Auburn, Alabama. And Auburn, Alabama looks like they've had some rain. There's rain on the lens, but doesn't look like there's much in the way of wind and or heavy rainfall around. But those storms could be rolling back as we go through the early morning hours.